A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, that's feel safe, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
Well, hello, everyone. Hail to the chat.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going? We are here, and this is open bar number 72. How is everyone doing tonight? I'm sorry we were slightly late, and believe it or not, we can't even blame it on Gary, because he's not here.
Wow.
His late and gayness infects everything, though. You know, just because he was at the open bar once, it's just kind of made us late forever, I guess.
That's going to cause a tear in the universe. Drinker will have to solve it as part of our third act stakes.
Yeah, and we'll be really invested in that because there's so much at stake that we care about. Anyway, we'll talk about that soon enough. Believe that, chat, because we've seen the Marvels. Or, I don't know, is seen the right word? We've experienced it.
Experienced it, yeah.
Yeah, you don't just go and see that thing. You experience it. And so we're excited to talk about it. Very excited. But anyway, we should start bringing in our guests. And for this one tonight, backed by popular demand, we have not one, but both critical doggos here. This is a rare thing, but Smokey and Lara have both agreed to appear tonight. And you can see they are doubly excited to be here. So, yeah, feast your eyes. Lara moves slightly in the background there. Yeah, for anyone who's confused, Smokey is the one closest to the camera and Lara is the one further back. There you go. So anyway, they're both here. And who knows, they might move at some point during the evening. We'll see. But anyway, let's bring some actual human guests in who can talk. So we have got D-Day Cobra from Geeks and Gamers. Man, hello. It's great to have you back again.
It is great to be back. I appreciate you guys having me on. Looking forward to talking about the Marvels. Drinker was so nice. He's like, have you seen it yet, Jeremy? So no, not yet. He says, do you mind if we spoil it? I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? And by the way, Gary gets blamed for late live streams, even on channels that have nothing to do with us. I've seen it. I've seen like streams late and it's like late and Gary's boomered it already. I'm like, this has nothing. This world of the internet has nothing to do with Gary, and he's still getting blamed for it. So it's actually pretty cool to see. But yeah, I have not seen any recent Marvel films outside of Guardians 3. I haven't seen anything in a long time. But for Friday Night Tights, I'm going to see the Marvels. And I'm not looking forward to it at all. I am not. But happy to be here. Happy to be here on with you fine gentlemen. And the dogs, of course.
Yes. Well, they're excited to have you here as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, MauLer, me and you, like, we got to stop not meeting this way.
Yeah, it's insane.
It is, man. And
I will say though, you and I never actually organize a stream together. We always
always on
meet
them,
on other streams.
I know it's always is how it always works. Although the few times you've invited me to EFAP is like your celebrations, and I'm usually I can't get in because it's full
you
when I'm
shot
available.
Me is what you're saying. Yeah, you're like, well, I can fit you into the schedule, maybe.
But yeah, happy to be here and. Good. Let's talk about the Marvels and whatever else, and bring our.
Well, we'll do our best to make it entertaining for you, man, because this is entertainment's the name of the game with this movie for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen some of the. I've already seen like the post credit stuff. This is gonna be painful to get.
Jeremy, you have not seen what Drinker and I have seen. Okay.
You have not seen what we have seen.
Oh, that's a golden reference. Digging deep.
Yeah. All right, and our next guest, he is the one and only Chris Gore, who has seen not only the Marvels, but he's also seen the Hunger Games. So be very interested to hear his takes on it tonight. Welcome back to the bar, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Drinker, MauLer, Jeremy. Always great to stream with you. And right now, I envy your dogs. They will never know the Marvels. They will.
Well, I mean, they might have been present when I watched it, because I totally took them to the movie theater with me, of course.
Right. Oh my God.
But yeah, that's what it did to them. They were full of life before the Marvels happened, and now look at them.
Yikes.
I love that this Frank Gore meme has followed you everywhere you go, Chris.
Yeah, it's all Frank Gore. blame drunk 3PO, for calling me
We saw-
Frank Gore one time.
We saw a good portion of Frank Gore when we were in Houston, and it was great. He was glorious. He was a good drinking buddy.
I was trashed. I still could not keep up with you, Will. I mean, you are the master. So
Yeah, I ascended to the other level of drinking where it's just like, I don't know what soberness is anymore. It's just like some crazy trip. But anyway, well, I mean, we're all here. We're assembled. We've also got Tyrone Magnus who's going to join us shortly, but he's actually seeing the Marvels right now. So pray for him.
Pray for him.
Yeah, but since we're pretty much ready to go, we should talk about this movie. I mean, this has been a long time coming, hasn't it? 4 years, in fact, that we've been waiting for a sequel to Captain Marvel. And wow, what a journey it's been. I mean, I will just say, I was talking with MauLer about this earlier. It feels like I've come full circle in like my YouTube career, because Captain Marvel was really the movie that launched my channel. Like, I made a video about it and it went viral, and that was really the beginning of it for me. And so here we are 4 years down the line, and I'm talking about the sequel and how times have changed. Because when that movie came out, the MCU was actually it was like the absolute peak of its influence, its power, and it was churning out billion-dollar hits like one after the other. Those movies just could not fail, and Captain Marvel itself made over $1 billion easily. And now, just look at where it's at. You know, they've had a string of flops. They've had a string of crappy TV shows. And this movie looks set to join the ranks of the flops, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean,
one of the worst.
Yeah, the MCU is in a unbelievably bad position, and like you said, with Captain Marvel, and I've often said that was probably one of the most protected movies I've ever seen in terms of just the strategic release. And again, there's nothing wrong with strategic releases, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, you want to release every film that you want to release. You want to maximize the opportunity, and they basically released that in between Infinity War and Endgame. The teaser didn't the end. Like the end of Infinity War reference Captain Marvel, right?
It did, yeah. When Nick Fury vanished.
Very exciting.
And so obviously then you had the Rotten Tomatoes change their score system when that came out.
It's just before it just goes, very exciting.
And yeah. And watching the path to like where we were then and the celebration around Captain Marvel, even though I haven't seen Captain Marvel, thank you, MauLer, for your unbridled rage. Because that's the only.
You guys be surprised how many people have told me that. Like, I didn't watch the film. Watched your video though. And
yes,
I've seen the film essentially.
Yes, yeah. Just like the other day we were talking about this, and Ryan says, "Well, if you're seeing the Marvels, Jeremy, you got to watch Captain Marvel first." I said, "I'll just watch MauLer's video again." How about that? But yeah, so now that we are at this place, I mean, there is no enthusiasm. I've seen them try to change the expectations, but the fact is whatever this movie is going to do at the box office, whether it's $50 to $60 million, it's a colossal disaster. Coming off of Captain Marvel, which did what, a 150, 160 domestically opening weekend, the enthusiasm's not there. And it's not just this movie. It's representative of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe right now. It's not a good place. It's in a really bad place.
It's interesting as well, because I mean, we'll get to talk about the movie itself shortly, but the trailers that led up to it, they tried every possible approach with this. They tried the humor, like the quirky, goofy comedy approach, where it was all lighthearted. Then they've tried like the super serious. This is like on the same level as Thanos, and it references all the classic heroes from the Avengers, like Iron Man and stuff. And they want to paint it as like this epic adventure that's full of poignant drama. They've done everything, and still no one cares.
Yeah. I think that was pretty embarrassing. The whole of Twitter I saw like lit up with like, what is this? Like, wait, is Iron Man's gonna be in this? It's like, no.
They've even tried live streaming a bunch of cats in a room, because if that doesn't draw people in, I don't know. Yeah, I throw my hands up.
Man, you know, as someone who saw the movie, as other people have here, they really went hard on the Flurkins. They were, they really wanted that to work for this movie, which is all right, you know.
Well, I know, like a reference that Chris, you were on Geeks and Gamers yesterday talking about this.
Yeah.
You many times you brought up A Quest for Peace, Superman 4. and how it's not a good movie. It's not a good movie, and it's not. And I agree, it's not a good movie. I love it still. And why do I love it? Because of Christopher Reeve, because of Gene Hackman, because there are things in the movie that I can look back on that and go, this is not a good movie, and it doesn't make me angry. But there are things about it that I connect to that I can still love. And obviously, Reeve as Superman Clark Kent is going to be always gold because it's legendary. But at least there's likable things within this bad movie that I can look to and go, okay, I can at least appreciate certain aspects of it. Whereas now I haven't seen the Marvels yet, but you can just look at the characters that we have that are making up this film, and it appears none of them are relatable or likable. So even though you have a horrible film, if you can have some relatable characters that are still kind of okay, that works for me, then you can forgive it in certain aspects. There seems to be none of that in this at all.
I will say at the very least, Kamala Khan is quite likable in it. I think some of it's down to the actress just being quite a likable person. She's fine. You can tell she's quite excited to be there and stuff, and she fits that role of like the young protege pretty well. Believe it or not, and this is going to shock you, but Brie Larson is actually okay in it. Like she's got way more personality than she had in the first Captain Marvel, which is not difficult. I mean, like this fucking can of Coke has got more personality than the first Captain Marvel, but there's something there. They clearly allowed her to do something and show a little bit of emotion. So it's not purely the characters, but it's just a horrendously written, horrendously edited, horrendously paced movie. It's a complete mess. And the overriding thing I felt, and I was saying this to MauLer earlier today, it was just a kind of feeling of sadness and pity. You know, it's like I likened it to running into like you're like a high school bully like 10 years down the line, and he's like fat and he's covered in piss and he's like got like a drug problem or something, and he's just like this pathetic soul who's ruined his life, and you don't feel any sense of like schadenfreude over it. You just feel kind of sad for him, and I feel like that's kind of what I felt for this movie. It's just so beaten down and so chopped up and so ruined, and there's nothing to it. Like there's no sense of like, oh yeah, this is a defiant last stand or anything. It's nothing.
Do you think can I ask you a question? Because do you think that you're saying Brie is not too bad because of the low expectations you have?
Probably. I mean,
kind of like
it's all relative, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because like if I compare her to the first Captain Marvel, yeah, like she's 100% more likable in this. But if I was to compare her to something like, I don't know, Marion from Raiders of the Lost Ark or something, like a really interesting, fun character, it's like it's like night and day, obviously. But we're fighting for the scraps at this point when it comes to like characters in the MCU. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'll be the one to say that they assassinated her. Unfortunately, not that anyone's going to give a shit. Captain Marvel, this movie did some horrendous things that she's not held accountable for at all.
Should we talk a little bit about the general setup of the plot then? Like, I don't know, MauLer or Chris or whatever. Like, can someone just try and give us a brief, like 10,000 foot like outlook on this movie?
Well, but before you do that, I would just disagree with you a bit there, Drinker, on Brie Larson's performance. I thought she was like a person who was copying what she thinks emotions are. You know what I mean? Like she was like, if Chat GPT was pretending to have emotions, that was Brie Larson. She was awful in this. And those moments that are supposed to be heartfelt, like between her and Monica, were so stupid and so embarrassing. And you're right, though. I do agree with you that the actress who plays Ms. Marvel, I thought she's very likable. She's probably in the movie a little too much. Her little, like, she's the comic side relief, except it gets a little annoying after a while because we know why she's there, and she's for the comic relief. But I did feel that, like, you know, I would watch more with her. I only watched the first 2 episodes of Ms. Marvel, but Brie Larson, awful. As for the plot, it's convoluted, it's stupid. Most of it is told to you, it's not shown to you. And I guess if we're going to have a brief, synopsis of the plot, we should probably go to MauLer.
Why do I have to do all
that? Man well known for giving his brain.
Well, so for those who are listening who are vaguely familiar with the MCU at this point, because you haven't watched anything in the past 5 years other than our takedowns of it, you'll find that this is a thing you need to see Miss Marvel for, Captain Marvel for, and if you listen to the fucking trailers, apparently you need to see Endgame for it, which is a lie. There's nothing from Endgame that's in this, like, at all. Oh, and Secret Invasion, if you watch that, it'll make this very funny, because there's a couple of things in, like, I was talking to Drinker about it, but we'll get there. So the basic summary is, through absolute bullshit, the three of those characters, being Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Monica, are bound together in that if any, I was going to say any two of them, but I think it applies to the three. If they use their powers at the same time, they switch positions. We'll go into that later. For now, we'll say, and this was caused by Ben being someone who Captain Marvel wronged in the past, because that's how we do villains every single time in these movies. It's always just some person's life's been ruined by one of the heroes. And so, yeah, she's fucking around with opening portals between two planets, one being her own, her home planet, and she's trying to steal a really large natural resource. In the film, we see her try to steal the air, and then the ocean. And then
He's not lying either.
I'm not lying. And so, yeah, you got that, and they've got to stop her, and they do. That's the film.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you've
so
seen
the way this
Spaceballs, it's pretty much Spaceballs. That's a plot point.
Yeah, so the way it comes about is like this is it what's her name?
Darvin.
Darvin, yeah.
Darvin.
I just call her Crazy Witch Lady.
Whatever.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Darvin, she uncovers the other bangle that's paired with Kamala Khan's one, is buried on some planet somewhere. How did it get to Earth? I don't fucking know. Who cares? No one cares. And yeah, so as a result, it's quantum entangled with the other bangle, and yeah. Whenever one of these characters or two of these characters use their powers at the same time, they swap places. And I don't know, as MauLer said, theoretically, they could all three of them do it at the same time. And I don't know how that would even swap. But yeah, the reason she wants to do all this is because she's Kree, and Captain Marvel in the first movie destroyed the artificial intelligence that ran her planet.
No,
it triggered a big...
You're getting it wrong. How could you? This is such an important movie to not get wrong. She leaves in the first movie to go and find out what's going on with the Kree, right? Because the idea is that she was lied to, she was brainwashed, she was told the Skrulls were evil, we got to crush them, and that the Kree are being ordered around by an AI that can't be trusted. And then we get a flashback in this movie that when she arrived on Hala, that's the Kree homeworld, she just destroyed the was it called the Great Intelligence?
No, the Supreme Intelligence.
Supreme
miles off.
Mixing up with fucking Doctor Who. So yeah, Supreme Intelligence, which by the way, that's with a copyright. I don't fucking know who went first on that one, but Supreme Intelligence, she destroyed it without thinking too hard about it after just wiping out Kree, which we saw her do in her first movie, so it's not a surprise. There's so many moral issues with all of that, but anyway, she finds out that by destroying the AI, fucking dries their oceans, poisons their air, and makes it so that I guess they have the sun. Yeah, the sun.
The sun also dies because civil wars are known to destroy suns as well.
Oh yeah, I guess I should have mentioned. Not only does she destroy their, I guess, ecological fucking, I don't even know, like controller. She also starts a civil war, and then she feels so guilty about it. The movie gets to the point of actually criticizing her on, "Hey, you didn't go and see Monica. Should have gone and seen her."
Also, I'd like to point out as well, she claims she didn't see Monica because she was trying to make it right and fix things, but she did fuck all to try and fix anything in 30 years.
Yeah.
And then when you get to the finale of the movie, she's able to reignite the sun just by like flying into it really hard.
Oh, dude.
Which she could have done like 30 years ago and fixed all their problems.
It's only because Monica came up with the idea. She was just like, why don't you just do that? And then she was like, I can't do that. She's like, can't you?
What is the overall point of the movie? What is the overall point?
There isn't one.
Money.
Well, I meant from because I mean,
like a theme.
Yeah, like what is the theme of the overall movie? Like
higher, further, faster, baby.
Girl power. Girl power.
No one.
Women learning to work together.
Exactly. It's all about it's about that, and we are talking spoilers, I know, but towards the end, and I know this because I did kind of see this part, but it's all going towards what we saw in Endgame with that little 10-second clip.
There's a hint that they're going to try and form up the A Force.
Yes,
that's what they call it from the comics.
Absolutely. And I don't.
That scene killed me.
And I don't think that they can't. I don't think they will after this movie fails at the box office.
I don't think the MCU is going to last long enough to do something.
I don't
like
either.
That. But What I will say, and I can't believe I'm saying this in its defense, but it doesn't really have much of the sort of feminist propaganda in it like the first movie did.
Is there any cringe line like, this wouldn't get done unless it was a woman or man? Like this,
there's a lot of cringe.
There is a lot of cringe, but it's not about that. I think there's one line from Captain Marvel about she had gotten into an arranged marriage with like the prince of some planet that they have to visit, and she's like, yeah, it was a political union or whatever because it's a patriarchal culture. I think that's what she says. But that's it. Like, there's
are there any men?
No, it's a matriarchal culture.
Oh, sorry, matriarchal.
Yeah,
misheard it.
Yeah, so there's a couple things I will point out. Is one, there is a shocking amount of events that happen off screen that we're supposed to imagine in our heads, right? So they could have actually showed us some of the things that they're discussing, but they just decided to talk about them.
Do you mean like the pre-Civil War?
Right. All of that. It's like, why was she gone? I mean, it is sort of a stupid thing in Endgame because she kind of pieces out and then comes back for the final battle to like remind you more Captain Marvel on the way.
She attends a funeral, but she's not willing to check in on Monica. Okay.
Right. She was there for that. She could have. It's just none of it makes sense. That stuff is so effing ridiculous. It's just, and then the movie opens with they're fully aware that people aren't watching Disney Plus. Don't know what happened in WandaVision, don't know what happened in the TV series Ms. Marvel. So they give you a little summary of Ms. Marvel. It's like a previously on. So that's how the movie opens. Not a scene, not setting the stage, a previously on Ms. Marvel, a show you didn't fucking watch. That's basically what it is. So there's that. And then I went to a screening with a lot of the so-called shills and whatnot who were there. I've never seen a more tepid response to a Marvel film. Okay, they got a little screams at the end, everybody got excited, and Ms. Marvel did get laughs, but for the first 30 minutes this movie they were dead silent. And this is a movie of this is they love these movies. Okay, and by the way, I was not invited to this screening. I was invited then uninvited. I was Alan Ing's +1. That's how I snuck in. And I wore a hat and glasses to be able to kind of just in case anyone was looking for me. But I can't, and it's sort of unprecedented that we didn't even get an invite to this thing until the week of, and so I saw it on Tuesday, a couple days ago. But yeah, it's on almost every level that you could judge a film. This is why, Jeremy, I talked about the movie Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Mm-hmm.
And my analogy is that is a terrible movie. That is just a bad movie. However, and there's so many levels that it's bad. It's just the worst effects of any of those Superman films, anemic budget, terrible plot, dumb stuff like some fishnet filled with like nuclear missiles that is flung at the sun. I mean, it's stupid. It's stupid.
Are you saying, Chris, he cured the world of nuclear war? Okay.
Right. We need him now. But like, look, so it's a terrible movie. Having said that, I love Christopher Reeve in that role.
Yes.
I love Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. This is a terrible movie with no one likable, a girl you've just met, Ms. Marvel, and she has some funny lines because she's calling out bullshit, right? That's her role. She calls out and she sort of says, she speaks aloud the subtext of what's happening and breaks up with a little humor here and there. But there's nothing to like about this film.
It did genuinely feel like a movie that was made out of obligation. It's like, we have to fill this slot and we've got the budget to do it, rather than a project that anyone was particularly passionate about or interested in. Like, nobody involved in it really seems that into it. Like, possibly the actress for Kamala Khan, but like with everyone else, it's like they're just going through the motions. Nick Fury is just a shadow of what he once was at this point. Like, Samuel Jackson is just collecting the paychecks.
How dare you? That was fully in continuity with Secret Invasion Fury.
I mean, it probably is. Yeah,
just reacting to things.
It was interesting. Like, as a guy who's not watched Secret Invasion, coming into this, like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
with,
Fury is lame as hell now.
Yep.
Why is there a giant orbital space station that I've never heard of before? What are these jump points that are everywhere that everyone knows about now? Like, where are the Skrulls? And like, why are they apparently like looking for a home, but they can't go anywhere? But then like fucking Valkyrie shows up and just takes them to New Asgard, which seems like it would have been an easy solution previously, but no, now they're just they're there now.
And not just that,
Loads of stuff.
That scene where they're evacuating the Skrulls as the air is being sucked and affecting the atmosphere, and shuttles taking off. What are they doing? What are the so-called Team Marvels doing? They're doing this, which is such a terrible, like, come on, get in the ship. Let's go. Come on, get in the ship. Come on, get on the shuttle. Let's go. I mean, Ms. Marvel kind of saves some people with some falling rocks. And it's at every level. It's like, and Alan Ing, who wrote the review for Film Thread, said it's like a movie made by someone who's never read a comic book.
Well, you know, that moment, like, that's a good example actually of how they missed so many great opportunities to do character development. That thing that we used to quite enjoy about these movies. That bit where they are trying to evacuate all the people, all the Skrulls from their world that's getting all the air sucked out of it, and everything's collapsing for some reason. And Kamala Khan wants to stay behind and save more people, but Captain Marvel straight up says to her, "We can only save the ones that we can. We have to go now. Like, we can't get everyone." And then they leave. Now, it feels like that would be a great opportunity for Kamala Khan to see, like, the really harsh reality of being a hero like this, that you can't always save everyone, that you're going to have to make tough decisions, and that people are going to die. And it should have shaken her. It should have really, like, affected her character. But there's nothing. Like, there's no real fallout from it. They just move on to the next scene. And I don't know if it's because this movie's been so heavily cut down that all that stuff's been excised from the script or whatever. But it's like, what's the point in introducing a dilemma like that if you're not going to do anything with it? And there's so much of that throughout the film.
Well, I think that's just because they're not allowed to let women go through these ups and downs that a character is supposed to go through. They're not writing these characters to be real characters. They're writing them to be the best ever. And so having a character actually go through ups and downs that develops the character, they're not interested in that. Go ahead, MauLer.
Something I found from watching a bit of Miss Marvel, I'm going to make sure I see all 6 of them, so that I can properly have the context for this lady. I've seen the first 3, and something that struck me and Frank when we were watching it is, and this has been talked about when it came out, was, why is Miss Marvel a fan of Captain Marvel in universe? I'm not trying to be a dick here, but there's no reason. And she's like, she's my idol. She's great. She's amazing. She'll come in. She'll save the day. And it's like, even we don't have much on her personality just from that one movie. And we saw a movie. She's seen nothing. All she knows is, like, it was a secret, right? Nobody even knew about Captain Marvel. So she comes in, blows up Thanos' ship, and leaves. And it's like, man, she's my favorite. She's that friend in school. You're like, that one's your favorite? Okay. I mean, yeah, I guess so. And so,
yeah, it's like, if you really
the opportunity they had in this film, what I thought they were going to go with, and they completely ignored it, was what you set up there, Drinker, right? Like, you know, we got to save everybody. And then Captain Marvel's like, shut the fuck up, idiot kid. We got to go and save what we can, I guess. And you have this look from Miss Marvel, like, oh shit, like, you're not who I thought you were, sort of thing. And I was like, ooh, this could be interesting. Never spoken of again.
And that is such a great point, MauLer, because I thought that same thing to myself. Why? The point is, Ms. Marvel is the audience, right? She's the reactor. She's from outside of the world coming into this cosmic Marvel universe. We should be looking to her for how to react to things. But since the audience in general isn't a fan of Captain Marvel, let's be honest, just point of fact, then it doesn't make sense. I can't, like, I found that to be ridiculous. The other thing is, I ask a big question. This is for everybody in the chat and for you guys. Who is Captain Marvel? Like, who is she? She is like many hollow actresses that I've met and sometimes dated in Hollywood. Okay. Hollow, no ideas of her own. She just seems like she's this empty slate of whatever. But if you ask me who is Steve Rogers, I can tell you who Steve Rogers is. He's the kind of guy that with no superpowers would jump on a grenade to save his friends in boot camp. Who is Tony Stark? He's a narcissist who realized what the bad, the ill that his company was doing in the world, and sought to change that, and went on a redemption arc that lasted into many movies. So you can identify and give attributes to all of these other great Marvel characters from the past. I don't know who Captain Marvel is. I don't know what she stands for. I know she fucks off when her friends need her and when the earth needs her to go off on some spacefaring narcissistic journey with an arranged marriage with some. That's the other thing that bugs me about the film is there's no romance. You know,
I'll tell you,
no
yeah.
romance at all, except the line, you said there's no cringe. There's so much cringe. There's a
there is cringe.
there's
Yeah, I just said
different
there's
kinds
no
of cringe.
feminist cringe.
Yes,
feminist cringe, not as much as you would expect, but there is a scene. There's a quick shot where Captain Marvel's outside the ship. Ms. Marvel is watching her, you know, from the cockpit of her vehicle, whatever, and she looks and says, "Oh, Captain! Oh my Captain!"
Oh,
That was cringe.
Does
as fuck,
Ms.
yeah.
Marvel want to fuck Captain Marvel? I mean, is this?
Well,
it's all coded gay for sure.
Well,
It's all
the bit
coded
that I
gay, if
was
you ask me.
the bit that stuck out for me was the bit where Valkyrie shows up and
Right.
she gives Captain Marvel this line like, "You don't need to stand alone to stand tall," or something like that, and then
Right.
kisses her. And I was like, are they trying to imply that they're gay for each other? Like, I don't get it, because Valkyrie's, as far as I know, has never even fucking met Captain Marvel. So, like, what's the relationship meant to be there?
They do that off screen now, Drinker. They do everything off screen, as we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you who Captain Marvel is. Captain Marvel represents every single person that is working in the creative side of Marvel now. Captain Marvel is a person that is a privileged white girl who never worked for anything in her life. The character never earned her way into the place that she's been elevated to within the universe. What did she do to become such an integral part of the Avengers movies and Endgame? Not a damn thing. She did nothing. She was never part of the development of all of this universe. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, she gets involved in the universe and she's elevated to sit there and disrespect Spider-Man of all people, standing there just disrespecting Spider-Man. And her character and the writing of her character and the development of her character completely represents everything that's wrong with Marvel. That's why she's the way she is. That's it.
I think as well,
And
like,
cat
there's-
ladies. Don't forget
there's-
cat ladies.
Yes.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh god, so many fucking cats. I'll talk about them in a second. But
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to see how they've actually dealt with her character over the past 4 years. In that they haven't. They've essentially kept her out of everything. She's been relegated to like just a couple of little cameos here and there that mean nothing, mostly post-credit scenes. It's like they knew they'd kind of fucked up with their character, and you can interpret that one of two ways. One, they're very aware of the fan backlash to her, and they know people don't like her, so they've tried to like just let it quieten down. Or two, she's essentially Superman but without the kryptonite, and she's so overpowered that she could essentially defeat anyone and solve any problem pretty much instantly. So you can't bring her into any storyline because she would just like win. Like she would win by default for your side, and so she's almost like an impossible character to work with. That's why you've got this stupid power swapping thing going on in this movie. It's like one of the only ways they could come up with to nerf her a little bit and make her like not just this dominant, all-conquering threat. So, but either way, they created a character that doesn't work for them. Either people don't like her or she's so powerful that she can't actually be used in anything. Either way, it doesn't work.
And there's no arc for her in this. Nothing. She's a bit sad about what she's done, but there's no.
Chris is exactly right. Like, what is her personality? What does she stand for? What's her arc? What's her journey? Don't fucking know, because like with the first movie, all I can define her as is a composite of general feminist talking points and their idea of what a strong female character should be. That's all I can say about her. She doesn't have a defined personality. We have lots of people talking about her, telling us that she's funny and brave and interesting and adventurous, but we don't see any of it. We just get a plank of wood on screen that doesn't like move her face. That's
There was perhaps an like a larger amount of Miss Marvel than was needed. You could tell she lost use in the plot around about the time we were in the musical place, in terms of we had the two hyper powered of the three being like, here we go, we're gonna go do stuff, and then the camera like cuts back to Miss Marvel, who's just like, hi, what do I do? And then some guy says, your scarf. Use your scarf as a weapon. And
I mean,
I need help understanding what the hell that was. That whole bit where she was attacking people and winning with a scarf.
I think that was, again, probably a scene that was cut or something. Like there was more probably going on there that's just been excised from the movie. The whole song and dance sequence... The whole song and dance sequence was pointless as well, because you find out that the guy, like, for context for the viewers, this is a culture who can only communicate through the medium of song. They can't just like talk to each other like we are. They have to sing it, and that is like the only way they can like be understood. And so you get a very lengthy musical number where there's dancing and stuff, and Brie gets to sing, and she's dancing with this guy who's like her prince that she married. And it's all completely pointless because you find out that he's bilingual, so he can just speak like a normal person anyway. It's like, what are you wasting our time with
such a
this
waste
stuff?
of
How
Yeah.
does that affect the tone? Like tonally, does
funny,
this?
too.
It's got to be all over the place tonally.
Well,
this
so
movie.
Jeremy, the point in the film at that point is that they check their own memories to see that the bad guy is going to be heading to this planet, a bad guy that opens portals that destroys the ecosphere of like everything. They arrive and they're like, hee hee, let's go talk to him. Ooh, hee hee, la la la. And it's just like,
But also,
uh,
I want to put the bad guy's plot into context, right? Because she faces three major problems. She's all about saving her home world, right? So they have polluted their atmosphere, so they can't breathe their air. Their oceans have dried up for some reason, and their sun is dying. Okay, so literally, she has to go to a planet with air, suck the air through a portal, and put the air on her planet, and that fixes that. Then she has to go to a planet that's like filled with water, suck the water out of it, and just put the
Drop it
water
in
on
the
her
biz.
planet. Again, that just like fixes the problem. And then Captain Marvel reignites the sun at the end of the movie. And it's so dumb. Why not just move to a new fucking planet?
well, you
Or
see, during the
something, like,
Kree Empire is only one planet. They're spacefaring, interstellar travelers, but they only have the one planet.
It's a super dense empire.
It's like fucking Star Wars with like the Republic, the New Republic.
Well,
wiped out from one
correct me if I'm
system.
wrong. Isn't this the same problem they faced in Secret Invasion, where the Skrulls needed a new world to live on, and they couldn't find one?
Even though we're aware of several, thanks to the film.
Potentially billions of planets throughout the galaxy.
It's bad enough that, yeah, you need to acknowledge that the universe is big. But secondly, we've seen planets. We've been to planets. The Avengers are aware of planets. The best part, Trigger, is that Rhodey is a Skrull, and he was on Thanos' farm planet. He was there. So he knows, and he's a part of this. It's like, you fucking idiots. I was actually going to say as well, I was talking to Rags about this, and we were thinking that if they were like, this were done in like a competent Guardians of the Galaxy movie, where they have to visit a planet and they're like, everyone here speaks in song, and you could picture like Star-Lord being like, oh god, what? And then like someone comes up and goes, hello, and he goes, no, we're not doing that. Like, cuts it off. We can make jokes out of it,
It's so easy to do that if you have self-awareness, which they have none.
No.
Well, the thing is this, Nia DaCosta really wants to be James Gunn. She is not, and the thing is this, she does deserve a good bit of the blame for the failure of this, because look, he created the Marvel Cosmic Universe. Guardians of the Galaxy, when it was announced, you're like, wait, what? Guardians of the Galaxy from a guy named James Gunn? Who the F is James Gunn? By the way, he made a lot of small indie movies, including Super, that got him the job. He did a whole lookbook and presentation to Marvel of like, here's kind of what I want this Marvel Cosmic Universe to be. Also a guy who read the fucking comic books from the time he was a kid. He has legit comic book credibility. And James Gunn also wrote a book called The Toy Collector, which is about one of my favorite, most dangerous toys of all time, the Strange Change Machine. In any case, James Gunn, legit, right? Nia DaCosta wants to be him, and all these ideas, right? The sort of like, we're sucking the atmosphere, we're jumping through portals, Flurkin sort of transporting all the, they couldn't evacuate all of the personnel from this space lab, so the Flurkins absorbed all of them into whatever dimension. All these on paper sounded super clever. In execution, didn't work at all. Awful.
Clever on paper,
dude. I can't emphasize how much I fucking hate the Flurkins. I hate everything they represent.
I'm with you. I'm just saying, on paper, they thought they were doing Guardians. They thought they were making, and here's, I'll re-pitch to you what I think the Marvels could have been, and you would want to see this movie. It's Charlie's Angels with superpowers in outer space. I would go see that movie. The movie we got isn't that. It's as far from, they can't even make a Charlie's Angels movie anymore, because part of the cool things about Charlie's Angels, in addition to Cameron Diaz dancing in her bedroom with Spider-Man underwear, remember the good old days? Remember what they took from us?
Yes. I would argue with you, though. I don't think current MCU, they could come out with that movie, and I don't think it's still going to perform well.
You don't think so? Well, but the point is at least something entertaining that appeals. And one of the things about Charlie's Angels that those characters did is they used their sexual wiles, their attractiveness as a tactic, as a way to, seduce and or be deceptive. And it was fun. There's nothing about men in this in terms of like any sort of even aspiring to have a relationship with a man and or a boy in the case of Ms. Marvel. They might as well have just had all the characters come out and say, okay, we're gay, which is no, there's actually nothing wrong. I have nothing wrong with that to me. I could care less, but the just absence of romance is
they're all completely sexless. Although I did notice that Brie Larson spends a lot of time in like a really like small tank top. And it's like, is this a desperation move? Is it just like, okay, break out the tits?
Look, I remember
to generate some audience interest.
They did that for Ryan Kennel.
But just sorry to interrupt, but just like, look, I remember the days when Sigourney Weaver had her a THO, you know what that means, Jeremy. And like very skimpy underwear, jumping into a spacesuit to avoid a xenomorph. Those were the days. And look, if you're going to make a movie with all women, a Marvel adventure, make them sexy, or at least make them at least somewhat appealing to men.
Can I ask as well, what was the point of Monica Rambeau in this movie? Like, what is the point of her character? What is the nature of her powers? All I can discern from it is that she can go flumpy and stuff can pass through her.
She's black. That's all that matters. I
mean, talking about cringe, we got that line from Nick Fury, like, black girl magic, go!
Yeah. Oh. Right. And they used that as the go home trailer. Dude, I still can't believe that.
Jay Longbone pointed out one of his lines in the trailer was from Avengers 2012. And then I just looked into it. It's like all of his lines in that fucking trailer are from 2012 Avengers. That movie... Do you remember how like the Black Widow movie reused all the dialogue Joss Whedon wrote about the Red in the Ledger? And then Loki season 1 reused all of Loki's lines about glorious purpose. And this trailer for this movie is literally taking dialogue from a different movie to sell the movie. I was just like, you guys are really relying on Avengers. Like,
what was it Robert said? Like, Star Wars now just references itself. That's where we're at with Marvel now. It just references itself. It references past movies that were better.
Wasn't even like, you guys love that stuff, please don't leave. Like, not you anymore, man.
Yeah, I just don't think that right now under the current, I don't see any scenario where this movie could have ever been successful in any way, shape, or form because of the people involved at Marvel and the direction they've moved. What is the last good Marvel movie? And I loved Guardians 3, but let's eliminate Guardians 3 from the equation. What's the last good Marvel movie?
Spider-Man No Way Home, but that's not Marvel.
That was such an outlier though because of the Toby and the Andrew Garfield stuff. So we can actually so outside of that, then what?
We could be back to Infinity War or something.
I'd say Endgame or Infinity War.
Yeah, I mean we've moved so far beyond it, and my question for you guys that have all seen it, obviously, but is this worse than? Where does it rank in the current MCU phase of films?
It's probably worse than Quantumania, I would say.
Is it worse than Eternals?
Just from a filmmaking point of view, and just like the coherence of the story and the editing and stuff, it's worse than Quantumania. Is it worse than Eternals?
Okay, wait. Like, because the reason I might put Quantumania above it, it's gonna fucking freak people out if they haven't seen my video, is MODOK. Because there's no character that works in the Marvels. They're all kind of fucked up. They're all because they're all retarded or insane sort of thing. But it was like one or two things in Quantumania, and I was like, oh, that's kind of working. So it's like that almost gives it the edge. But I mean, I'm not going to start with how much nothing makes any sense in both of those films. Like in a world building, portals, dimensions, quantum shit stuff. Like all of it, it fits right in. I guess I could say that. With MOM, Quantumania. What's the other one that's awful?
Well, the Eternals.
I haven't seen the
Shang-Chi. That was like another
Shang-Chi was like a slight sliver above those, I think.
Did you see IGN literally called the Marvels a triumph in their review? They did. They did.
Like a meme.
Bought
They
and
gave it
paid
a-
for,
they
boys.
They
Bought and
gave it an
paid for.
8. They gave it an 8 out of 10, and they called it a triumph. That's what they did, and it's like, you guys are literally the meme. Like whether it's the South Park thing that they're doing with the movies, or it's IGN calling the Marvels a triumph. It's unbelievable how on point memes have become with all of this stuff.
Oh, Love and
It's,
Thunder. There you go. That's the other
Triumph,
like
it's
Oh
unbelievable.
god, yeah.
On
There's
There's so fucking many of these
Yeah,
shit
it's
movies
crazy
now. I
I've vetted
forget.
them. I'm like, shit, which ones are all the most horrible?
Well, I mean, like, because Chris was talking about how she wants to become James Gunn, but I feel like that's been a Marvel problem since the first Guardians movie, where they went with the Thor Ragnarok, and they were clearly trying to lean into that Guardians-esque cosmic comedy stuff, and it just doesn't work. Like, I think all 3 Guardians films are awesome. I know 2 is the least popular. I think 2 is the least popular, but I found a lot of I enjoyed the entire arc with Yondu and everything, and I liked part 2 a lot. But it goes 1, 3, 2 for me. But I like all of those movies.
I think with the Guardians movies, you can at least tell that they are in the hands of a capable filmmaker who has an artistic vision for it.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Much with Nia DaCosta in this, it just felt much like I think Chris said there, or maybe it was MauLer. Just like with Brie Larson, she's acting the way she thinks a human should act. Nia DaCosta is acting or directing the way she thinks someone like him would direct a movie like this, rather than having any real coherent artistic vision of her own. It's just a pastiche of other people's ideas.
Like a James Gunn or a Joss Whedon, when they were making their shit, they were making their shit. They weren't doing like, oh, I gotta make sure I recreate Jon Favreau, I recreate whoever came before me. But a lot of these directors, like you point out, a lot of them are like, what are we supposed to do? Oh yeah, we gotta do this to do it right. We gotta do this to do it right.
I do like the idea as well that she fucked off. Like as soon as principal photography was done, she didn't even oversee post production. Just went off to go and make another movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm having no more part of this crap.
I would defend her for that, because a lot of times these directors get fucked around with. Like, Disney is famous for not paying very well. They just do not pay well. And also they dragged and moved the date around. Is she supposed to sit around and just not work? So I actually would defend that aspect. At the same time, if you really care that your name is on a Marvel movie, you might want to pay a lot of attention to it. But I'll just say, knowing how Disney works and Disney/Marvel, it's very corporate. I think there's a reason that the best talent no longer is there. There's a reason Jon Favreau's not involved in Marvel, or James Gunn's not involved in Marvel, or the Russo brothers are going off making Netflix movies, whatever. Like, they are not treated very well. And I think it's a miracle that we had this kind of decade of decent movies where you look forward to it. I mean, Captain Marvel, 1.2 billion at the box office. That was goodwill. That was a movie sandwiched between 2 of the biggest films of all time, unprecedented in movie history. And the brand has been eroded since Phase 4 took off. And I knew things were effed up when, first of all, the Black Widow movie was terrible. That was awful. But not just that, it was when they were promoting Shang-Chi, but the way they promoted it, go back and watch those trailers. They were saying, it's your new favorite Avenger. And they did the same thing where they did with this, where they showed you, hey, look, Iron Man, remember that? Captain America, remember that? It's your new favorite Avenger. Look, you haven't earned your place.
Here's your new product, and get excited for it.
I agree with you as well. But I've never seen them this desperate. That trailer was shocking to me, seeing just straight footage and dialogue that they've cobbled together from other. They made it seem like Thanos had a daughter that's going to kill us all. It's like, that's not at all the case. But they had the words, he says something like, my work is inevitable. He never says that. He says, I am inevitable several times. So where did they get those lines from? They fucking chopped up 2 different ones from 2 different movies, probably. There's a line in here that's from Secret Invasion, where Fury says something like, I'm asking you for one last fight, or something like that. It's from the fucking Secret Invasion trailer. I was like, what were these people doing? They were tasked to market this film, and then they looked through it and they were like, we can't use any of this. I'm
legit surprised that they didn't go for the feminist angle. looking back on it now, because it's like when you see what Barbie did over the summer, and it obviously like was all about that, you think to yourself, well, okay, that was clearly a winning marketing strategy. Why didn't they try that here? Like, they tried essentially everything else.
Well, I think we've got this. Like I talked about this with. I don't know if you guys saw Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I. It's not a great movie. It's a good movie, solid. I didn't know anything about it prior, but watching that movie, and I've seen it twice now, I felt like I was not watching something that was made by a committee. I felt like I was watching something that had a creative vision in mind, and we're going to tell a story for the people that follow this video game franchise. And it was so refreshing to see that. I didn't see anything that felt like it needed to be in there for the sake of being in there to get an audience reaction, yada, yada, yada. I feel like that's all Marvel, and pretty much all big studio stuff is now, whether it's DC, which DC and Marvel have massive problems for a lot of different reasons. But ultimately, it comes down to the committee aspect of, hey, we got to have this in there for that demographic. Oh, we got to have an audience cheer at 30 minutes in, or the TikTok generation is going to lose, the attention span. Like, just let people tell a fucking story and let them have their creativity. And we just don't have that anymore with these big tentpole films, whether it's Star Wars, Marvel, or DC. There's too much meddling involved with this stuff, and it's all a committee of people that don't have a fucking clue how any of this works or why these things are popular, and it's ruining everything.
It's too much
Jeremy,
money involved as well. I legit do not understand how they spent 270 million on this.
Jeremy, you just like Five Nights at Freddy's because it was directed by a woman. Written and directed by a woman.
Well, to be fair, they could just say that the Five Nights at Freddy's guy is a Trump supporter, and that's why Jeremy likes it. So they can throw that one at me.
Yeah.
Right,
but yeah, but I have never played the game though, and I had for me, like, I watched that movie, I knew nothing about it. It wasn't made for me. Yet I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? It was made for a group of people that know it. And I could see the care and the love that went into it for the people that understood it. And that was a beautiful thing to me. And I want to see more of it. And the thing about anything out there is that if something is good and it honors the base that it's supposed to be catering to, if people are genuinely interested, they will do the work to understand the universe. You shouldn't force that on to people that don't care about it. They should want to get involved in it. And there's so many examples I could say when it comes to that, but ultimately that's a movie was made for $20 million production. $20 million, and it's made over 200 million.
That's what it's gonna, like, Disney could only dream of that kind of profit margin at this point.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
I was going to say, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, I think Gaming Circle Jerk, a subreddit, which is very much against Scott Cawthon because they're like, he's got all the wrong politics. They had this big post of exact instructions how to pirate the movie and make sure he doesn't get anything. It's so funny because it's just like, you don't need your fucking purchases. He'll be fine.
He'll be fine. Yeah. I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's is right now, last I checked, was around 200 million worldwide, or it was projected to be at that on a 20, and it's falling fast now. It was very front loaded and it's pretty much falling fast, but $20 million, the Marvel's $300 million production budget. And that's probably, I mean, Chris, you might can speak to it more. It's probably, well, they're reportedly, we're saying 270, right? But it's more.
To be fair to the movie, didn't it release on streaming and theaters at the same time as well?
Five Nights at Freddy's, yes.
Yeah.
It was on Peacock. It's on Peacock. You can watch it right now if you have it.
But I think that was the reason, like, because it was in development hell for like about 5, 6, 7 years, and it was because the maker, the rights holder of it, the guy who designed the games, wanting to make sure it was done right. It was done according to his vision, and so he wasn't willing to accept like studio interference. I obviously had to get shopped around to so many different people till eventually it got made, and they've obviously reaped the rewards. Like, it's when I did my review of it, I was coming at it as someone who wasn't that familiar with the game. I never really played it much. I was aware of it, but I didn't care that much about it. People were saying, like, if you like the games, you love this movie because it's so like faithful to it. You can tell it was done by someone with so much love for it.
Yep.
And I thought, well, fair enough. Can't criticize that, I guess. And it's paid off handsomely for them because they got a 10 times, profit margin over it. It's insane. I was gonna ask as well, because Chris, I know we don't have you for too long, but you have seen the new Hunger Games movie. And before you go, I was interested to hear your take on it. Because it's Rachel Zegler's big role.
Well, I can stick around a little longer, but I'll be brief because there's not much to say about this. Something that people are missing with this movie, I mean, it's the Hunger Games prequel, right? So it's Rachel Zegler's the big star. She's not the main character of the movie. The main character of the film is Snow, as portrayed by Donald Sutherland, in the Hunger Games films. This is his story, how he turns. It's effectively the story of Anakin Skywalker, right? He's this good, virtuous guy who basically helps Rachel Zegler's character. What's her name? Something Gray. So he helps her cheat so she can win, which makes a lot of sense, because I was going to say there's no way she would survive. First of all, she's this tiny, gangly, skinny girl who, if anyone decides to go see this film, she cannot run. She's running and she looks like a girl who runs and doesn't run all that much. So you're looking and
She
you're
got
like,
the arm flopping thing going on.
Right, right.
They're all over the place.
She's sort of running like a girl.
I
which
love
is
the chat.
what
When
I-
you said Snow, I thought the same thing. Some of the chat talk about Informer, the rap song.
No, but it's Donald Sutherland's character. This is him as a young man. He helps her cheat in the Hunger Games. He gets exiled to another district. And then, so the movie's kind of broken up into thirds, right? And it's weird because after the middle part, the Hunger Games is over. And does anyone give a shit about spoilers? Does anyone care?
No,
Nope.
I've seen
Okay.
the first Hunger Games. I don't know, nothing.
The
about
first
it.
Hunger Games was fine. I mean, it's
I
a
enjoyed it.
it's a ripoff of a better thing called Battle Royale. Which,
yeah. But no, don't you understand? Like, this was the first ever female action star was in
Right.
the Hunger Games.
That's
So
why I
before
went
that,
to
we had
see it.
nothing.
That's
so.
why I went to see it. That's why I was
Well,
very.
did Douglas say this is the first anti-establishment female character? I can't believe this shit. It's worse than parody.
I would love to be an actress today, but just to have no fucking concept of like history or even
I would play with
films,
it. I'd be
like
I'm the
beyond
first
your own
woman to hold
lifetime.
a gun in this movie. I'm the first woman to speak in movies. You just be like, how long before they challenge me?
I just don't blame actors for being stupid, because it's sort of a resource management. If this is out of whack this way, they're incredibly beautiful people, right? Physical attributes beyond most of us. Well, then they're not going to be the brightest bulbs in the bunch. That's my expectation. I've never taken a lot of what any actor says very seriously. There's only, a short list of people who really understand the craft. Like, so when Rachel Zegler says something stupid, I'm like, well, that's a Tuesday in Hollywood. Who gives a shit? But she's not the main character of the film. It's the guy who plays Snow. And actually, it's the movie's kind of a mess. The last third of the movie is pretty freaking dark. And I honestly enjoyed the last third. It's just it's weird though, because in the first part of the movie, the men in the film, their formal dress is something that actually looks like a dress. They're wearing a dress, not a kilt, a dress. And it just looks off. But then you see his character evolve. If you took Rachel Zegler out of the movie, one, you would miss her, but two, she's not the main character. It's not her story. She is a catalyst for how Snow's story takes off. So it's, in some ways better than I expected, but it's being marketed incorrectly. It's being marketed as her story, because I don't care about a new Hunger Games movie. I didn't care after the first film. Was like, that's really fine, and I didn't need to see any more. But I don't really have a lot more to say about it, except that last, and of course, as with all movies that are made today, too effing long. It's 2 hours, nearly 2 hours and 30 minutes to 40 minutes. Like, I mean,
is there any anticipation for this movie? Because it's so not
No.
on my radar. Like,
No,
this
Yeah,
franchise is
no one seems to be fucking talking about it.
yeah.
they're doing free screenings like The Flash next week. So you can register on a website next, I think it's Wednesday. They're doing fan screenings and you can see it for free.
I just,
So there you go.
This movie just, honestly, and maybe it's just because of this fear. I've heard more conversation around Captain Marvel 2 than this, and that's not a
Right,
positive at all, because there's not a lot of conversation for either. But without memeing on Rachel Zegler, I'm not I am so detached from this franchise. I would have thought Jennifer Lawrence was still in it. That's how detached I am from this shit.
I mean,
don't know anything about it.
it's so far removed from the Jennifer Lawrence movies as well. Aren't we talking like
it
almost
is.
10 years since the last one? Like, does
Yeah.
anyone even care about the Hunger Games franchise? Is it even relevant at this point?
What's the budget on this one?
No, but they're running out of franchises to ruin. The thing is, what's interesting about it is this is the early Hunger Games when they didn't kind of know what to do, so it's less spectacular. The technology is different, so I found that aspect interesting. And then there's like tons of dumb shit, but it's a CW thing. There's sort of light on the romance, but the best part of the film is this guy who plays Snow, who goes from this virtuous kid in college trying to make a go of it in this dystopian, I'd say, future, except I feel like we're not that far from there. And I was talking to a friend and I was saying, hey, look on the bright side, we can watch World War III on our phones. This is where we're headed with the world. But I think I really brought the chat down with that one. But yeah, it's gonna tank. I think that doing the free screenings is kind of a desperation move. I don't know, are there super fans of that franchise without Jennifer Lawrence? Maybe. But Rachel Zegler, the bad press she's had lately is obviously going to affect it. I don't know if now that and they got a waiver to promote that movie, by the way, and they've been promoting it overseas. But now with the SAG strike over, who knows like how quickly they can pull together any type of promotion. But do you want to be putting Rachel Zegler like in the middle of doing junket interviews? Oh, a fun fact about the Marvels. The people who did the media who were invited to do the junket this past weekend didn't see the movie before they did their interviews. They didn't show them the film. They showed them 20 minutes of scenes from the movie. Then that's like something that generally doesn't happen. You see the film that you're going to be talking about and then interview, the people that are in the movie. So they didn't even get to see the movie. That's how much confidence Disney has in the Marvels. They know it's going to tank. It's going to be how bad. And the conversation we'll be having next week, because we're not going to be talking about this movie much next week because there's not a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about the fallout for Marvel. Do they pivot? How hard do they pivot? What do they do? We're not even discussing Jonathan Majors, who faces a year in prison, not just from charges in New York, but there were charges in some other hullabaloo that happened in the UK. You might know more about it than I do if that's been in the papers. But Jonathan Majors will be recast, is my prediction, even if it comes out that he's innocent. So
I think at this point, like Jonathan Majors is like, yeah, he's definitely a problem, but he's like the least of their problems in terms of like the money making potential of the MCU. Like their real problems are just so much more fundamental in that they have run their own franchise into the ground. No one cares about it anymore. Apathy has set in, and that's why people aren't fucking talking even about the Marvels. Like, yeah, people are tuning into this stream to watch us like have a laugh about it and meme on it, but like nobody's interested in really debating it or watching it or anything.
The most of the conversation about the plot line has just been had. The rest is just going to be about the state of Marvel, the meta surrounding the film, things that Brie Larson may or may not say, her career, like, and what this means going forward. That's what everyone's interested in now. It's the story of the MCU, not the story in the MCU films.
Absolutely. And I mean, dude, it's gotten so bad because there are some good things out there with TV and movies. They're not usually big tentpole films, but people have lost faith in almost anything that is a big announcement from Hollywood. Like the other day when the live action Legend of Zelda was announced, and as soon as I started talking about it, people were like, "Oh, it's got to be a woman as Link." And I'm like, good Lord, man, we don't trust anything anymore because Hollywood is not giving us a reason to, because they've just ruined everything. I don't think that's going to happen with the Legend of Zelda by any means, but the point still stands that people have lost trust in so many things. And it's because things like Marvel, DC, and Star Wars have led that kind of fan perception of things, and they've all been destroyed for different reasons, but they've all are heading to the same place, which is the bottom of the barrel.
And once you get once you've got that South Park episode mocking this stuff, like there's no recovering from it.
Yeah,
put chick in it, make her lame and gay, and like that's it now. Like the secret's out, the Emperor's clothes have been revealed, and like people just see it for what it is now.
Yep. Sad but
I was
true.
just going to respond to this one as well. Drinker, I saw that you wore our shirt during your happy hour live stream on Wednesday. Thank you. It was an unexpected honor. I hope to see you next time you're in Texas. Cheers. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciated that t-shirt. It was very good. So thanks.
Nice.
Cheers,
awesome.
man.
That's awesome. Now, Chris, do you know what the budget is for the Hunger Games movie? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know, but I'm sure the
Okay.
internet does.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody does. So I'm just curious if it's even tracking to match that or what. Like, I'm just so kind of interested to know now how bad it's doing. Again, this movie hasn't even been on my radar, but now that since we discussed it, it's like, is this movie going to lose several $100 million, just like Captain Marvel seems like it's going to lose? The Flash, what did the Flash lose? A couple $300 million, $200-300 million.
I mean, the movie was made by Lionsgate, so the budget cannot be super.
Well,
100. It says 100 million.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, it's 100 million. So take that for what it is.
I mean, that's much better than the Marvels. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, I did wonder, like, with the Marvels, are we witnessing the end of the old era of Marvel movies, right? The era of the huge budgets, the heavy use of CGI, all those generic stock elements like the portal that has to be closed, the big army of CGI enemies that's going to get wiped away by the heroes, all of that stuff, the quippy humor, everything. Is that just come to an end with this? Because it's definitively been proven to not work anymore. The formula does not work anymore.
I wonder how much of it we'd even see at all in Deadpool 3, but you might see remnants of it in Captain America 4. I could imagine that movie's been made with similar sensibilities, even though it's not finished entirely yet, right?
Yeah.
I do think that there's something interesting going on when you look at what has been successful of late. Oppenheimer. What did it make? Almost $1 billion. I never saw that coming. Coming. Almost $1 billion for a 3-hour biopic with no CG.
R-rated.
R-rated. No, not a lot of action, but again, it's all about practical. People care about practical effects. They care about things that feel real. I think that people are sick and tired of the overuse of CG and the over-reliance upon CG. I brought up Five Nights at Freddy's earlier. There was no CG in that movie that I recall. None. It all was practical, and it felt cool to see this. It felt like you were in this environment. I didn't see Barbie, but just from a set design standpoint, it looked like pretty damn phenomenal from a set design standpoint. It looked like they put real effects in there and they didn't rely on CG. Is that the case for the most part for people that have seen it? Did it have a lot of CG, Barbie? Did anybody see it here?
Yeah,
I mean, I imagine it did, but like the production design, I get what you're saying. Like it didn't look like it was heavy on CGI. It looked like they used a lot of miniatures and all that sort of thing. So
something
fair
like
enough. Can't really fault it there.
And then let's look at some like Cobra Kai, which is a very successful series on Netflix. Very low. It looks like a low budget thing. You know what I mean? It's not like they're putting any glitz and glamour into it. Now you can still point to things like Stranger Things that has, effects, but for the most part, that's where we're at. Super Mario Brothers was made for $100 million production budget, made $1 billion. What was the latest Pixar movie?
1.5 billion it made. It was crazy numbers it did.
Well, I think it was like 1.2. It's like 1.2. I think so. But what was the latest Pixar movie that came out? That didn't Elemental? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Elemental had like a $200-300 million budget. I don't know how. I don't know where that came from. But my point being is that when you get back to the basics, people are responding to those types of films, whether it's on the high end side like Oppenheimer and Barbie, or whether it's the low end side of something like Five Nights at Freddy's. People care about practical effects, and I think they're sick and tired of the overuse of CG and the over reliance on CG.
I think as well, like, and I've said this obviously in many other streams, like I think we're witnessing the death throes of the superhero genre as a major box office force. I think we're coming to the end of that, particularly in the Marvel format. Like I know there's always going to be a place. Like if you release like a Batman movie or a Spider-Man movie, people will still see it because they've transcended that genre and they're just household names. But I think this period of releasing movies like Blue Beetle and Shazam and stuff like that's over now. Like Captain Marvel, it's over. No one cares about those things anymore.
I would disagree with you on the fact of I think it's the shared superhero universe is what we're seeing the death of. We're tired of the shared universe bullshit. There's a reason that people go see Batman and Superman and now Iron Man and Spider-Man. Spider-Man, look at Spider-Man's box office. Every time Spider-Man's been the vocal point of a film, the star of the film, look at those results. Holy shit. Spider-Man is gold. Batman, Superman, they're not going to fail if you focus on them. It's the shared universe aspect, and it's people are tired of lower tier characters that no one never cared about for a reason and still don't care about to this day, even if you're trying to force people to care about them. So I think it's the death of the shared superhero universe. I think once the dust settles, when you get back to basics and you focus in on actual superheroes that people care about, I think you're still looking at billion-dollar films consistently. But until you have the wrong people creatively that are involved in these projects right now and the wrong vision involved.
I did like this one this year. Daisy Ridley is in a new movie and it didn't even crack $1 million. I legit had no fucking idea that movie even existed until I saw it on Twitter today.
Yeah, it's a terrible indie movie. Yeah, not worth your time.
I can't understand why she's coming back to Star Wars in another Rey movie. Whatever could have tempted her back, I wonder.
It'll be interesting to see the results of the Joker sequel and the Batman 2, I guess, to track how they can do compared to their predecessors, even though the Batman did not get the results I imagine they wanted.
Yeah.
Obviously, Joker was a fucking shock to everybody as well, because that was R-rated and not even a superhero.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you came out with an action, like, the Batman got worse the more I watched it.
It does seem to have soured.
Careful, Jeremy. Those are dangerous thoughts to have right there, son.
I mean, it's just, I think that the Batman suffered a lot for, how long was that movie? Almost 3 hours long?
10
hours, pretty long.
And when you rewatch it, the time real, like, so many scenes drag out for no reason. And you're just like, can we get a Jeremy Johns jump cut? And everybody knows I love Jeremy Johns, but can we get some jump cuts in this damn thing? It's just everywhere. It's like, it just drags out and you're like, okay, can we clip this scene yet? There's just, I don't know. I got a lot of problems with that movie. I'm not going to go on that rant right now, but yes, the Batman underperformed from where it should have. And I think it's the fault of the film, not Batman in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I think, a lot of it just comes down to him taking a long time to walk around rooms and look at things. It's like, okay, it's kind of the Ahsoka problem where it's like you're confusing length with impact. It's not the same thing.
Yeah,
it's like a multiplier. You have something like a Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, whatever, and then it's like also if you put that with a good movie or a great movie, it'll you'll get that combo meter going. Because even Spider-Man, right? They stopped the Amazing Spider-Mans; they just weren't making enough money.
Well, I will be interested to see what happens with James Gunn's Superman. And I don't have faith in that like I should, because I loved all 3 Guardians movies. I even liked Brightburn. I don't know how many of you saw Brightburn. I very much enjoyed Brightburn. I still don't have faith in James Gunn's Superman because Superman is such a difficult character for people to grasp and understand. And I just don't know. But that's going to be a real testing ground as to what the future of superhero movies is like.
I mean, we talk about the MCU being like a dying brand. Like, fuck me, DC has just like been stomped into the ground and had a wooden stake driven through its heart. Like, this is just.
We've always
you're gonna have to go something to resurrect this one, man.
DC have been chasing, almost like ambulance chasing MCU at this point. The way I see it is the MCU leaped off a cliff and DC were like, we got to leap off too. Let's go.
I think if James Gunn had been brought in maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, like he could have really turned things around. At this point, though, like fuck me, they've had so many flops and so many failures. I just don't see what he can do.
I still can't believe the Flash did it. Like, I didn't like the Flash movie, but I can't believe it performed as bad as it did with Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck. I mean, I can't believe it.
Yeah,
and I don't know why. Well, I mean, I know the Ezra Miller stuff was bad for it, but nostalgia is it's a hell of a drug. Michael Keaton's Batman but it was awful.
Well, here's a question for you. Do you think it was more DC being a damaged brand that people just weren't interested in? Or do you think it was they were just getting bored of these superhero movies?
I do think that No Way Home showed us that if you focus on the right things and hit the nostalgia buttons the right way, that people are going to show up and show up big time. I think that DC is so messed up because, for better or for worse, whatever you think about the Snyderverse movies, I don't like them. Matter of fact, I fucking hate them. All right, they have their fan base. Oh, I know. I'm just making all kind of enemies today.
because I like it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you love those movies, MauLer. But they regardless of what you think about them or not, they never had a coherent vision, and it's because DC didn't fully back what Snyder was doing, rightfully so, but still. And then you have this shift in tone. Aquaman comes out, totally feels like an MCU movie. Like the first Aquaman felt like a literal MCU movie, coming off all these dark, broody movies from Snyder. And I think DC is now like to the point where what is Aquaman? Aquaman is probably going to lose money as well, Aquaman 2. So I think DC is a very damaged brand right now. And I think that played a bigger part into the failure of The Flash more so than anything else.
Fair play. Yeah, I mean... Think about Aquaman 2. It's like there's literally not even any conversation going on about that. Like that movie is going to come and go like it was nothing.
More people are talking about Taylor Swift's movie than DC or Marvel movies right now. This is the world we live in. We are fucked, okay?
which now there's like a ton of concert movies that are coming to theaters. There's a Dolly Parton movie or Dolly Parton concert film, a Beyonce. Like, it's fine, but movie theaters have to do something because superhero films are not bringing people in. They've got to pivot to, I don't know, they're doing UFC fights and Studio Ghibli festivals and a lot of stuff. Fathom events is actually every screening I've gone to for a Fathom event is packed. So, and it's just old movies.
So, not a bad thing.
Yeah.
If you want to know some interesting stats I've been made aware of, it's 2 p.m. Paris admissions to seeing films. Apparently a metric a lot of people pay attention to see how well a film is doing. So I'll give you some comparisons, right? Guardians of the Galaxy 3 had 2,835 tickets sold. And if you go further down, Quantumania had like 1,976. So it's like, it's actually not even, maybe you expect it to be lower. Morbius, the classic, 1,030 tickets for that. So it's like, okay. So before I tell you, where do you think the Marvels has scored?
600. 600. Under 1,000.
Yeah, 500 or 600 perhaps.
Yeah. I'm gonna go 7 just to be nice to Brie Larson because I've always been a fan. 700.
He's only going 700 so he can cut out the win from you two.
Right.
It is 884.
Whoa. Okay.
Still, though, as people have highlighted, it's like, so Morbius got another W.
It just keeps winning.
The top comment on this thread is, so Morbius is the benchmark for failure? They were like, not anymore.
I mean, so let's just put that into context. Morbius grossed a grand total of 167.5 million worldwide. I mean, if you guys had to make a prediction, right, for the Marvels, total worldwide gross by the end of its run, where do you see it ending up?
I feel we've answered this question a couple of times, but the more time goes on, the lower the number gets.
I know,
100%. That was so. Oh, you're so right, MauLer. I think Marvel. I know.
Oh, you Marvel.
Marvel.
Oh, no.
Right now, I'll be the first to say like under 400 million worldwide. I'm gonna say between 350 and 400 is what I'm gonna say.
I don't think you're wrong either. That's the scary thing.
I previously put the cap, I think, on 400 mil or something like 350, but now I'm like, oh, should we put the cap on 300 mil now?
Could
it be? Is it possible?
If it's hovering around the 300 mil mark, that I don't even know how they'd cope with that. Like that's a humiliation. That's not just a flop. That's like an absolute annihilation. Yeah.
Probably still hover around 350 then, but it ain't gonna make a more billion. We know that.
I think we can say that.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I think that all the people who made it knew that well before everyone else did. They were like, "Oh fuck, this is bad." You know the montage where they're doing a skipping rope and teleporting around. I was just like, God, they knew, didn't they? When they were filming this, they were like, "Fuck, this is gonna flop. Like with doing skipping ropes right now. This is not.
It's
One
really
of the big things that's gone from the MCU is just badassery and cool. There's nothing cool about it anymore. Something that I feel like is an underlying current of a lot of the heroes is doing fucking cool shit.
Yeah.
And like watching Captain Marvel skipping rope, I'm just like, okay.
This is where we're at.
Yeah, I mean
This
could if this movie does 350, this is going to be probably the end of the line for the MCU as we know it. They cannot continue to ignore these problems because this is awful. This is awful.
I think there's not going to be any spinning this one. There's not going to be any way that they can put a positive outlook on it or say like, oh, it was just bad timing or it was this problem or that problem. They would be forced to just accept the reality that one, people aren't liking their movies anymore. Their brand is severely damaged and degraded. And two, they particularly didn't like this movie because the character was never popular. Like whatever popularity, whatever box office income she made 4 years ago was purely just the riding high on the wave of the MCU, and that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, we all said this was going to happen. This is the thing, right? We all said, when they don't have Infinity War and Endgame and stuff to protect it anymore, when it's not shielded from criticism, and when it's not got like this super juggernaut like carrying it forward, it's probably going to flop because people don't actually like the Captain Marvel character. And now it's just happening exactly as we predicted. Probably worse so, in fact. I don't think any of us could have seen it do this badly.
No,
Well,
and I mean...
the bright side, it's doing better, trending better than Shazam 2 and Blue Beetle. So.
Wow.
So bad.
So think about that before you shit all over it. I mean, what can we draw from that other than the fact that the box office hates men? That's what that means.
Yeah, I heard that.
Ridiculous.
That's what.
I mean, men are going to get the blame for this ultimately. It's like
they've already
if it gets
started
bad reviews, it's because men didn't like it.
Yeah.
If nobody goes to see it, it's because men didn't support it.
Yep.
It's like it's
I'm
just like that
right.
fucking...
We didn't support it.
Well, it's like that fucking Charlie's Angels article. Like part 1, it's like, men, this movie isn't for you. Part 2 is like, why didn't men go to see this movie?
It's so great, man. It's so great. Well, I mean, if you look at it, like, if you remember when Guardians 3 came out, it definitely underperformed opening weekend. It was a lot lower than people anticipated, and that kind of showed you like where Marvel is at. The fact that Guardians of the Galaxy underperformed. Now it did over time. It picked up steam, and it did pretty well, all things considered, but it should have been well over $1 billion film, all things considered, based on this franchise, based on how people responded to it. And I think it ended up getting like 850 worldwide.
Which is... I characterize that as like a marginal success at that point for what it cost. I don't think anyone was exactly breaking out the champagne, particularly because it was the final Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Obviously, James Gunn was moving on to DC at that point. None of the actors were really keen on coming back. So this was like the last hurrah for them.
Yes.
They were no doubt hoping for at least $1 billion because the enthusiasm should have been that high, and it wasn't.
Yep. And that's just a testament how bad Marvel's bad of a shape they're in. I'm not sure Iron Man can save them if they bring Tony Stark back, and dig his grave up at this point. I'm not sure that saves them. Like at this point, you got to start over. You just have to start over.
I'm almost getting more and more excited for Secret War or Secret Invasion, Secret Avengers movies because it's going to be an entire tornado of shit in terms of like, we got this guy. We were covering someone on EFA recently who was like, as long as we get like a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man meeting with Kang, I feel like that shit would be fire. It's just like, what? Like, what? It's like, the fans have been trained and they're providing feedback of like, just throw everything, throw it, get it in there. Yes, go get Vader to meet Kang. This will be great.
It's going to be like, how I was talking about the trailers for the Marvels were all over the place. They were trying every different emotional tone, every manipulation tactic, every key that they could jangle in front of you because they just didn't know how to promote this film. They didn't know what they should go for. It smacks of a studio that's completely lost its confidence in itself. It doesn't know what it is anymore. It doesn't know what its movies are. It doesn't know what people are even looking for in their films. And I feel like that's what you would get out of another Avengers movie. It would just be as you say, so much crazy shit thrown at you because they just don't know what is going to work and what isn't. Fuck it, just try everything at this point. Throw any random characters together from any universe. Who cares? Well, as long as it gets some short-term gains, that's all that matters.
I feel like you just described the Flash.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Imagine what's cut for not only the Flash, but also like Endgame and even MOM, like all the crazy cameos, all the different deals they've tried to make and failed to make. Like the Avengers double parter that they still can't even get fucking off the ground because of everything else. Is that's going to be the big old like. What do you say about how dangerous an animal is when you put it in a corner? It's like scared. That's what the MCU is right now. Don't you? They don't hesitate.
Who knows what they'll deploy?
That they will. I want to see them deploy Star Wars characters into the MCU. That's what I'm like. Oh, we're really getting in trouble now.
I said that. Yeah, it's like, how could you save Star Wars? It's like, I'm going to have Daisy Ridley like get on the Millennium Falcon, and their hyperdrive goes wrong. They end up in a distant galaxy, land on a planet, and fucking Iron Man's there to meet them. And then they fight.
She just flies through.
Yeah, well, she beats him in a fight and chops off his arm or something with a lightsaber, and then they decide to team up to fight fucking Batman or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
why not? It's just garbage. Yeah, it's kind of done now.
Tacky, shitty, not cool, lame, boring, and then they reset.
I was gonna say we're getting close to like 18,000 people watching this live. This is a record for the open bar. It shows how much you guys love the Marvels. So well done, guys.
More Marvels coverage here on the Drinkers channel.
Brie Larson is probably in the chat right now.
She's heard they didn't like it. Like,
yeah. The last thing I wanted to cover, if you guys have got time, was we're all excited to discover that the Film Actors Guild have reached an agreement with the producers, and the actors' strike is now over, or almost over. I think tomorrow they ratify it. Yay, woo. We get to hear the actors give their views on everything again.
Oh,
it does
so
kind of mean
happy.
that we're going to hear more gold from Rachel Zegler, so we should.
she's free.
Yeah, she's
To be fair,
unleashed.
To be fair, I have not known what to do without hearing Mark Ruffalo tell me how to live my life. So I'm really happy we're getting back to this point in time. I couldn't be happier. I'm really excited for this one.
This is true, yeah.
Hollywood's a better place when actors have to shut the fuck up. I'm just being honest. It's just a better place when they can't talk.
It got to the point, though, which was weird, like where we forgot there was even a strike happening because we just didn't care anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, like the whole Barbie Oppenheimer deal, it was so weird because, and that was such, like, I still really can't understand that success and how that all came about. But I think that it definitely benefited from actors not being able to talk at all. I think that played a small role into it. The memes and everything probably helped a lot, but it didn't affect me at all. The actor strike didn't care. And I think that I've talked about this on Friday Night Tights, but 10, 15, 20 years ago, this would have been a huge problem to not have entertainment happening, but or not having your late night talk show host. But now you have YouTube. Now you have, independent content creators. You have all of this stuff going on. So people don't miss that stuff anymore like they used to. And the internet has changed the game. And so that's why a lot of people didn't notice it and didn't care.
Just before we go on, I just wanted to read one super chat out. It was from Toilet Seat Bill. It was for $50. Says, Drinker, I'm curious what you'll think about Attack on Titan when you get around to it. Its first half is pretty amazing, but I wanted to warn against the second half as it gets progressively more ridiculous and stupid. Anyway, cheers. Yeah, I've heard mixed things about the finale for Attack on Titan. Some people loved it. Some people were scratching their heads about it. Yeah.
I've got about 20 episodes left for the series. I very much loved the series in the beginning. And again, if you look at the chapters and the seasons, because I went through it all at once pretty much, I don't really know how to break down what chapter or what season was what. But the first season is what I remembered. And then after that, there started to get ridiculous elements the more that the story started to unfold and it started to disconnect me. Then they had an animation shift that really was jarring for me. I'm still interested to see what happens with it, but it was falling apart for me the more I was watching the anime.
Damn it. I mean, that's a shame because I've heard, like, generally with that, especially with the early seasons, I heard nothing but good things. People like, you should
So have you
watch
seen
it.
it at all?
Gotta
Have
watch
you-
it.
have you seen it?
No. I've vowed to watch it though
Man,
because people
it's
kept hassling
really-
me about it.
The first season is phenomenal. The first again, it's hard to break it down because I watched it all at once, but I remember loving it and fascinated by the questions and the intrigue. And then the more that was getting answered, the less that I was interested. And I'm like, this is
Right.
getting, overkill at this point. And then apparently it ended, but then it didn't end. And then there was another ending. I'm not really sure how that all worked out, but I think I had like 20 episodes left.
No, I'd be interested to give it a try and see what it's like because, like I say, people want me to watch it, so there must be something to
Have you
it.
seen Death Note, the anime? Don't mention the
No.
Netflix show. You need to watch Death Note. You need to watch Death Note. Death
I
Note's
need to watch it. I need to do it.
It's Drinker. You got to do a review for it, man. Death Note. I know the chat's going to be divided on it probably, but I think Death Note is a phenomenal. Just phenomenal from a storytelling standpoint. I love it so much. Now this is an anime show. Oh well, the chat's about to go crazy. But anyway, Death Note, you got to watch that one.
No, sorry about that. We went off on a bit of a tangent there. I was just going to finish up by with the strike coming to an end. I do at least feel better that for the below the line people, the production guys, the guys who just work on set, the electricians, all those guys who just like work in the movie industry, but they can't do anything at the moment. At least they're going to get back to work. So there's something, I guess, that's good come out of this. But it feels like they're going to be going back into a much smaller industry because as far as I understand it, a lot of these studios, the streamers are cutting back on the amount of TV shows and stuff that they're producing. And we're talking about going from like 500 new shows to like 300 per year that they're putting out. And that's a hell of a contraction, but it seems like that's been needed for quite a while now because there's been so much volume of content out there that people just couldn't keep up with it. People couldn't watch it all. And maybe this was needed, but like it's inevitably going to result in people not having jobs to go back to, or at least some of them.
That's 100% true. I know a lot of people who work below the line. I mean, lighting, rental houses, production people, they're screwed. And you're going to see the industry is just going to shrink by half. And it's self-inflicted. And a lot of it was the gold rush that was streaming that didn't turn out, that didn't pan out. And everyone is going to suffer from it. You're going to see some mergers and a lot of contraction of the industry. So that's been coming for a long time. It's been looming, but it's affected everything, including just the economy of, believe it or not, like restaurants. People can't afford to eat out because they're not working. So I'm glad it's over, but what I hope is that there are lessons learned. Probably not, but lessons learned would be, hey, why don't we make things that a lot of people like and stop trying to dictate and lecture all of America. We'll do our job, which is to entertain.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong as well. Like realistically, production is not going to restart until next year anyway.
January.
Because
yeah, it's already been like people have said January things come back. Right now they're planning. They're looking what shows come back, what shows do not come back. You're going to see even more deals and shows disappear. And I do think, I mean, Netflix supposedly has a metric where if less than 50% of someone who starts a series do not finish the series, automatically canceled. Automatically canceled. More than 50% of the audience has to be retained through the final episode of whether it's a murder documentary series or whatever, a narrative series. More than half the people have to finish it. That's worth continuing. So I'm sure that's the case with something like One Piece, which we've all talked about. Opla, Opla. Yeah, no, like I think you're gonna see because there was an article today about like Bob Iger was supposed to be this big savior. Well, he got, as Ryan Kinnell would say, he is fucked. It's on every thumbnail.
Ryan Kinnell coined that phrase.
Yeah,
he's fucked.
He's fucked. I am fucked. We are fucked. I like the different variations. I didn't realize you could have so many fucked variations.
I mean, honestly, if I was Iger, I would just fucking retire at this point right now.
should have done that
Like, I'm
before.
done. I'm out.
He should
Don't
have
need
mic
this
dropped
anymore.
and done it, but he saw himself. I mean, a lot of these guys are filled with freaking ego and not as many smarts as you would believe that they would have. And he considered, it was reported, he considered a presidential run. It looks ridiculous, in retrospect now with the mess that Disney is, but they don't have the capital. They're not as liquid as they used to be, and they've got to be looking at, we can't take risks. I mean, already you're looking at an industry that is incredibly risk averse, the entertainment industry. When you look at almost everything that's made into a big budget movie, it's based on a pre-existing property that has been around for decades. It's a movie. It was a book that was a movie. Now we're going to remake that. I mean, Dune was a book published in 1965 that was a movie in 1984. It was a sci-fi series. Fine, I think it's safe to make a big budget movie now, right? Or even like now we're just going completely circular, where The Color Purple is based on a book, was a movie made by Spielberg, went to a Broadway musical, and now they're making the movie of the musical version of that. Like it's eating its own tail, right? So a very risk-averse industry. They got to just get back to basics, and they have to stop doing something that, Jeremy, I know you talk about this a lot. Stop vilifying half the country. Stop vilifying people based on their political stances. Okay. There used to be a common morality we could all agree to. And for some reason we've lost that. That's why I think that's another reason why I think the Marvel heroes are they really heroes? Because they're morally ambiguous. We used to agree on, like, this is what good is, this is what evil is. And I'll just say, living in California, that gets gray a lot of times. Not where I live. I'm nestled in Pasadena, which is it's like living in the Midwest. But I'll tell you, it's there is like not a common morality that is shared by everyone. There's not common values. And that means it's hard to define what a hero is. I don't know how James Gunn is going to make a Superman movie today. I hope he just doesn't give a fuck and just makes a Superman movie like it was made back whenever. And I think that's the next step. They could make the X-Men and the Fantastic Four period films. They can make them period films set in the 60s, in that sort of Camelot era JFK, when people wore hats. I don't know if you know, I think JFK popularized not wearing a hat, and that's why we don't wear hats as much. Sorry, I went on a rant. My apologies to the chat. I'm sure they're telling me.
I think you hit upon something very relevant, where it's like that whole idea of the postmodern deconstructionist movement in Hollywood was the new thing, the exciting new thing that was going to revolutionize cinema. And it's been around for like 10 years now, and it itself is now old hat. And like you say, maybe there's an element of coming full circle, where it's like going back to traditional values in filmmaking and traditional morality, and like the classic hero's journey now becomes the new big thing because it hasn't been done for so long.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. Like, what do you do after you deconstruct your heroes? Then what? You tear them down and deconstruct them. Then what do you do? So James Gunn, James Gunn, I trust them. You give me a super team I've never heard about. I trust him to make a movie that would be interesting. Superman, to be determined. I really don't know. Will he be able to do that? I don't really know if he will. The casting seems fine, but we'll see.
Well, like you said, Jeremy, like you talked about even the shittest of the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, like The Quest for Peace, low budget as fuck. Production is terrible, but it still had Christopher Reeve giving it his all, and it had that earnest, like, gosh darn it, like, old-fashioned Americana kind of version of Superman. And so there's a charm to be found in that. There's something good in there, and I don't know if James Gunn has that kind of style of Superman in him. I think his instinct with all of this stuff is to have snarky, subversive characters, which is great if you're doing like Guardians of the Galaxy, or if you're doing the Suicide Squad. Perfectly, that's in his wheelhouse for sure. Doing like an honest to goodness Superman movie, I just don't know if he can do that, if he can bring himself to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to give him a shot in terms of a fan and just say, we'll see, because he's done such good stuff in the past that I've appreciated. But yeah, Superman is not an easy character, and I'll be damned if I want to see Superman doing a dance off. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the thing is he took a lot of liberties with the Guardians, which is fine. Not a lot of people knew them. Superman has an iconic background, and we're in an age now where it's hard to give us a real hero without having all the BS. So I just don't know. I guess I'm interested to see where he's going with it. I don't have a lot of faith though, and it's really not about Gunn as much as it's just about what we've seen in general moving forward.
Yeah. I could honestly, I could stand to see a shift in the genres that we get in movie theaters. I miss when we could appreciate bad movies that were bad, and like X-Men Origins Wolverine. I've talked about this all the time. It's a terrible fucking movie. I like it. I like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. You know what I mean? Like I remember seeing X-Men Origins when it leaked. You remember this, Chris? When it leaked before the VX and all that. Like I remember seeing it. And I will never argue for that movie being good, but I can enjoy it. The Street. Okay, so funny to bring this up. There's a Street Fighter movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme that's based on there's a movie of the video game it's such a weird kind of. You don't have to preach to me about that movie, man. It's glorious.
I love it. It's not good, but I love it so much.
Yeah.
We can't even appreciate bad movies anymore because the bad movies hate our guts. They're telling you in the movie, we don't like you. We hate your guts. We're going to make a bad movie, and we're going to tell you we hate your guts all at the same time. You're like, God, there's no redeeming qualities here at all. Like, just really bad. I wish we could just have hokey, cheesy stuff. Give creators visions. Give their vision room to breathe. And so that way, if you want to have agenda-driven movies out there, go for it. Market will determine the market. But also give us things that don't have that. Let creative visions have time to breathe. And you'll have a marketplace full of different ideas, and then the market can determine the market.
I think a lot of that comes down to the budget then. So if you've got less money, if you're spending less money on a movie, you can afford to be more experimental, and you can put more faith in the director because you're not gambling as much on it. So, if you took The Marvels as an example, a big studio-driven movie, like just another part of the Marvel machine, cost $270 million, probably closer to 300, really. in reality, for that, you could make 5 or 6, mid-budget movies around the $40-50 million mark, right? 5 or 6 movies for the cost of this one film, and you could afford then to experiment. You could try crazy new things. You could let directors have their vision and do interesting stuff. And like at least 1 or 2 of them would probably succeed and pay for the rest. That is what we miss. We miss the lower budgets.
Sorry, Drinker. Just to reference, you've got to scale the budget to the market. The problem is, look, I've seen a lot of the stuff that we're seeing like leak into mainstream. I've seen for years in indie film, and that's fine. You can make a small indie movie that opens in 2 theaters in New York and LA. It gets all sorts of awards and accolades, and it goes off. It's a movie made for under $100,000 that makes $200,000. There's nothing wrong with that existing. The problem is when you start making a movie like, what was that movie with that guy, Billy, what's his name? And it was the gay romantic comedy.
Oh, Bros.
Bros, yeah.
Okay, Bros. I knew Jeremy would know it. I'm kidding. I'm fucking with you. But like that movie was made, it was a gay romantic comedy. Fine. It was made for $50 million. It tanked. It bombed. Of course, what did they do? The typical thing where they just blame the audience. You're homophobic because you didn't see the movie. I have gay friends that didn't want to see the movie because they thought it's so stereotypical. It's annoying, right? Like if that movie were made for $2 million and made 5, huge hit, or if it was made for 2 million, or if it was made for 10 million and went to streaming. You can't spend $50 million or huge budgets on these movies that inject agenda or Drinker, the message. Why is that not a t-shirt that I can buy in the Drinker shop?
The message.
The message. It's always better when you say it. But
I can't make my voice echo like I do in my pre-recorded stuff.
I always love that. But like, it's true. Like, make those movies are fine. They're welcome. They should exist, but scaled to the level of the audience. Period. And you're making a $300 million girl power Marvel movie for, I mean, already, oh my God, a friend of mine sent me a photo of the Indiana Jones, what's her name? Phoebe Waller-Bridge, her character, like all like mark down the lowest, the orange stickers on it. And this is the thing, that was the thing that Ike Perlmutter said is like, girl action figures don't sell. They just don't. And that was just a fact that he was pretty based and would just throw that stuff out. And we've forgotten that, right? It's like I'm sorry, like it's called show business, not show friends.
Well, we've posited on the channel before, right? And you'd be interested to hear your take on it. That all these franchises like Star Wars, Marvel, Star Trek, they are traditionally male oriented, right? The fans are predominantly men, but they have tried so hard to cater to women with these, with all the push for like girl bosses and like Kevin Feige saying we want at least 50% of our heroes, if not more, to be female in the MCU, and the market isn't there for it. Like, yeah, there's definitely going to be girls who like Star Trek, who like Star Wars and stuff, but it's predominantly men. And so you're essentially ignoring the bulk of your market, because not only are you introducing like more female characters, which in itself is fine, but you're denigrating the male ones, you're breaking them down, you're emasculating them, and you're turning them to useless pussies who are just there to get outshone by the girl characters. That doesn't work. That drives away your biggest customer base. So not only did you fail to attract new customers, you pushed away your existing ones. That's why they're in the position they're in.
I 100%. And I've said it before, like I've been going to like San Diego Comic-Con, nerd conventions since like 1990, 89, whatever. I've seen it. If you saw a woman at San Diego Comic-Con, it was like a sighting of Bigfoot. It was just incredibly rare, but it was around 2007. I'm like, wow, there are a lot more women coming here. And now it's straight up. You go to a big Comic-Con now, pretty 50-50 male, female. That's fine. But I would argue that the reason that there are many female fans of Marvel is because of Beefcake and the fact that they like strong, shirtless men. It is a Marvel trope that every male character, a Marvel character, takes their shirt off. Paul Rudd, Benedict Cumberbatch, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans. It's a fucking featured scene that he takes his shirt off, comes out of the capsule, right, as a super soldier. Like, they all get shirtless. Women, look, men like strong men, women like strong men. Fact. I'm sorry. You can push agenda all you want. It doesn't translate to dollars. It doesn't translate to audience. And the Marvels is going to prove that. It's going to prove it. Like, it's just going to be, this is the demonstration. You tried it. It didn't work. Don't spend $300 million on a movie that's even just sort of stealth feminist. It's not going to play to the wider audience. It's just not.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yep.
There you go.
I was going to do some super chats now, but I know you gentlemen are potentially a bit short on time. But if you've got time for a bit of that, like, fine. If not, if you need to bounce,
I'll hang for another 10 minutes.
I'll hang. I'm actually working in the background, so apologies, drinker, if you see.
Oh, that's okay.
I can listen. I can listen.
A multitasker.
Yeah, I wish I could do that. I absolutely can't. But I will focus my attention on this.
Cool.
So, Mr. Lucas says, "Good chat with theory, Mr. Long."
Well, I'm glad people enjoyed it a lot, apparently. People want us to talk some more about maybe getting him to start hating Dave Filoni. That's my evil plan.
His journey to the dark side is complete. Stephen Bobo says, "Drinker, there's a possibility they might use a parallel universe / alternate timeline plot in the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Are you okay with this, especially since you're not a big fan of multi-universe tropes?" Yeah, I'm not loving that, although I kind of had a feeling that they were going to go that route with the first game being the way it was. I mean, obviously they start to deviate more and more from the plot of the original. I guess if they can ultimately tie it together into a cohesive narrative, I don't know what the resolution will be whether it's branching timelines that ultimately come together again to form a unified story. I'm not sure what they're going to do with it, but I'm interested to see where it goes. I can only say that much so far. I think for me, it comes down to how well it's implemented. But I did enjoy the first part of the Final Fantasy VII remake. Maybe it's just because I'm a massive fanboy of the game from back in the 90s, and it makes me feel young again. And don't take this away from me, God damn it! It's the one thing that gives me a little bit of joy in life. Anyway, Mikey Gustler says, IGN gave the Marvels 8 out of 10. They said the Marvels is a triumph. Is this Shang-Chi all over again? Yeah, pretty much.
There's a post on that same subreddit I was talking about with expected records that the Marvels will break. And I was like, it's not going to break any records. And I checked and was like, oh, they're talking about lowest records. As in, one of the ones that's expected to break is biggest sequel drop worldwide in dollars since The Last Jedi.
Wow.
Which was a drop of 736 million. So
I'm really happy that the actors' strike is over now, so we can hear what the stars of the movie think about this. It'll be interesting to hear their thoughts.
Why do I have a feeling that when they're like, Brie Larson, comment on the success of the Marvel, she's gonna be like, leave me alone.
Yeah. Fuck this movie.
I think I haven't confirmed it, but it looks like the same writer that gave the Marvels an 8 out of 10 is the same writer for IGN that gave She-Hulk an 8 out of 10.
Only an 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
some
there
people
you
just
go.
hate to hate, I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah.
God, no credibility. No credibility.
No
with these
credibility.
sites.
Kedge says, with the success of the Mario movie, Nintendo has already started production with a live-action Legend of Zelda movie, but after learning who's producing and writing it, I am worried.
Same writer as Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom. Same writer as some other thing. When I found that, I was like, nah, it's dead. Sorry, we're out.
I would argue that Nintendo being heavily involved will be a saving grace for it. I'm not saying that that automatically means it's going to be good, but they are not. Nintendo is a weird company, man. They're a weird company, and I'm obviously a big fan of Nintendo, for better or for worse. But them being heavily involved from a creative standpoint, I think is a positive that you can take away from it to offset some of those concerns. Still be cautiously optimistic, if anything.
Marksman of 117B says, can we get some big fat W's in chat for that mad lad Lord Miles? The man ends up a prisoner and turns it into a vacation with the Taliban for 8 months. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are ever aware of this guy, but I think he's a Brit who was in Kabul just when everything kind of fell apart and essentially got marooned there. And he was like basically doing like live updates and posting on social media like, yep, the Taliban are going house to house, like searching for people. I'm in hiding right now. I'm gonna try and make my way out. And then he blagged his way out as like an aristocrat or something so that he could be ransomed. He's like, oh yeah, you can ransom me and my family will pay for me to be returned. And yeah, somehow made it into a holiday, I think.
Wow.
Just an absolute lunatic, but I respect him. He also said, same guy who points an empty rifle at the Taliban and makes them laugh. He even showed them the Barbie movie. The Taliban loved it. Rather Ken.
Oh my God.
Finishes up by saying, yes, the Taliban is now enough. So now I have to ask the panel the ultimate question. Are you guys Tal enough? Hail autism.
Hail autism.
I definitely am, yeah.
Wow.
Zach Winters says the first wave of reviews for the Marvels was 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now it's 60%, just enough for it to be fresh. Checking the reviews, they're all but paid for with negative reviews giving 6 out of 10. Yeah, you knew somehow they were going to find the reviews needed to make it fresh.
I mean, especially
3
if
a.m.
we
ballot
need to
dump.
make it up like a 10%-ish, they'll be like, yeah, we can nudge that. Like,
Yeah, they got a 3 a.m. ballot dump on those reviews and got it up to a 62%. So they're good now. All good. It's the movie is saved. Marvel is saved. Everything's great now. Everything's wonderful. Celebrating a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes is what the MCU fans are doing now.
That's at this point that's considered a win.
I know
Bogdan Anachescu says Robocop 2 isn't great, but it has one of the best insults ever said by a kid. Go fuck a refrigerator, peckerneck.
I recently rewatched it because I was playing the game. I love Robocop 2. as well as 1. I think it's awesome. It's 3 is the one I'm supposed to avoid, apparently, right?
Yeah, I don't watch 3. 2 was quite good. I think my favorite line was from the OCP president, where like the Kane is running amok as like the new RoboCop 2.0 or whatever, blowing up civilians and stuff, and then like an ambulance shows up and he just like opens fire on that and blows it up in front of like the entire world's media, and the president just goes, "This could look bad for OCP, Johnson."
Yeah, it's a great line. I love when he's like PC RoboCop, and he's like, "Your hair looks lovely," and then she's like, "So they did something to you," and he's like, "Isn't the moon wonderful?" And she says, "Daytime," and he's like, "It's the thought that counts." And she's like, "We're heading back to the station." Jesus Christ, like just broken.
Robo96 says, while it's promising that the new Blade movie now has an R rating and it's got a solid writer-director team, it really needs to be as separate from the failing MCU as possible. Reports of the TVA featuring in Deadpool 3 and Fantastic Four reboot made me die a little bit inside. Yeah, I don't blame you, man.
I have no faith in that project whatsoever, and I think Mahershala Ali will end up leaving. That's what I feel like is going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah. Was it 5 different writers they've gone through already and 2 directors?
I believe so. Yeah.
Canned at least once.
And then at some point they had him as the 4th lead or the 5th lead, and 4th lead. They had 3 women, like ahead of him in the script.
Yeah,
and he was the 4th lead. I'm like, and he's a good actor. Mahershala Ali is a really good actor. He's got a really good screen presence. I think he would be good in this role. But again, it goes back to the overall culture at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I don't think there's any way that this works at all.
And just another example of Disney, taking. It's not just creative people who are talented; it's that passion. I always make a connection to Oscar Isaac before and after the sequels, where before he's like, "Oh, I used to watch it with my family. These movies, my favorite is Return of the Jedi. Can't wait to be a part of it. Even convinced JJ to keep him alive." And then post, he's like, "I'll do it again if I need money." And it's like, oh man, Mahershala Ali apparently being the one to seek out playing Blade, and they've probably got him to a point where he's like, "Why the fuck would I do anything with you guys? Like, what's the point?" They like stake people's passion right in the heart. It's so sad.
Yeah, it's not. It's clearly not the same company that made the first Blade movie like 25 years ago at this point. Films like that can't exist within the framework of the MCU. It's just not going to be possible. Even if it's R-rated, I don't believe it's going to be a hard R like it deserves. So fuck it. It's a waste of time. Elsie Le Pen says, shame about Yahtzee losing his zero punctuation brand, truly the backbone of The Escapist. But hey, I'm sure they'll be happy to have Movie Bob back.
Well, the fact is, man, they can keep the whole brand. They won't be able to keep the fans.
Oh my god.
No. Yahtzee was literally the only thing that people went to The Escapist for. It's fucking irrelevant now. And yeah, he's already got his own new thing set up and ready to go.
If you were stupid enough to sell Open Bar to like Disney, and then we needed to restart it, just call it Open Pub or some shit. It was like,
closed bar or something.
Yeah, a quick aside, Movie Bob attacked Alan Ng. Alan Ng is the editor-in-chief of Film Threat, the website. He's on Rotten Tomatoes. He gave the Marvels a 4 out of 10. The reviews on the website. Generous. But he's being attacked on social media specifically because Movie Bob sent all his minions after Alan, who's the nicest guy on the planet. I worked with him for 6 years on Film Threat, and his Movie Bob's entire review of the Marvels is a reaction to Alan's review, where he doesn't quote him directly, but he's reacting, basically trying to supplant Alan's opinion, which is ridiculous. So that's
I think it's hilarious, the idea that Movie Bob even has minions.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, does anyone
who the fuck even listens to him?
Well, that's what I mean. It's like 10-1 in favor, but still.
Chris, I don't know if you saw it semi-recently, but someone was talking to Movie Bob about how Disney's in a mess. The Centennial is just dripping with their own blood at this point, and that they desperately need help. They're losing money. And Movie Bob replied to that person that you don't deserve to breathe.
Yeah,
it's
Movie Bob.
So ridiculous.
Having a normal day,
Yeah.
David Lamplow says, MauLer, it was great to see you joined a multiverse and chatted with Star Wars Theory. It was a great and fair chat. I'm with you on on all of the Andor side.
Sweet. I mean, yeah, it's like a matter of trying to. It's a weird position, right, to convince someone that the current state of Disney is even worse than they think, but also try and be like, but Andor is kind of better than you think. Trust me.
I thought I was really happy that you guys got to talk. That was cool. So yeah, obviously I know Theory well. I know you well, even though we pretend we don't know each other until I come on the stream. But
Dude,
yeah, so
if you guys saw the
good.
beginning of it, I think there was a bit of trepidation for him and his like co-hosts, and then I was like, by the way, I've spoken to Jeremy and Ryan Gill many times, and he was like, oh. I was like, yeah, not like a boogeyman. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, because like I said, I didn't know you guys were setting anything up. And so after I saw that, I texted him and said, hey, I just started watching this, man. I'm glad you're talking to MauLer. I hope everything went good. He's a great guy. And he goes, yeah, man, we had a great conversation. So that's good. I'm happy to see that. Happy to see that.
Building bridges.
Yeah.
It's good to see. RRTNZ. Hail Drinker, here's some money I was never going to spend on the Marvels. Genuinely interested in your take, so have one on me. Cheers. Thanks, man. And you can expect my review, my full like scripted review tomorrow. Waylon Bicephus says Dixon between her legs or Jenny Taylor. Hitting us with bombs as always. Ghost of Drinker's Liver says, howdy, no request this week, just saying hi. Thank you, man. Hikira says, MauLer, when will you do a stream with Theory and Tyrone together? They are fans of each other.
Hey, on board whenever they want to.
Yeah. Blue Collar Loser says, Drinker, ask MauLer a serious question. Can't a guy sell drugs to kids and not be harassed by the cops every 5 minutes? Holy shit, you have to play RoboCop. Oh,
yeah, I've been trying to... I've given Drinker the big old pitch for playing the RoboCop game.
Wait. Hold on a second, actually. I can help you here.
Oh, my God, what's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
Can you show us the copy for, like, PlayStation 5 or something? Here we go.
There's a lot of anticipation going on right now.
All right, there you go. See, I've got it. It's ready
to
go.
Yeah.
Damn, they delivered fast.
That's genuinely, that game is made for people like me, you, and Az, and people. Like you'll have so much fun on it.
Yeah. No, I will get around to playing it properly and streaming some of it. Hopefully, it'll be a lot of fun. He also says, tell Chris, thank you for telling us about What If Star Wars Was Awesome. I watched all 3 with my kid like it was a movie. It's more canon for me than 7 to 9.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You should check that out. It's a YouTube channel called Prism, which he's a guy who works in Hollywood who was, like many of us, frustrated that the Star Wars sequels failed to deliver a competent story. And he just told, have you seen this? Do you know about this, MauLer, Drinker? Do you guys know?
What is it? Sorry?
It's someone did a completely different vision of Star Wars, basically told a new story with Luke, Han, and Leia, Lando, using AI. So there's a narrator, AI, and music, and they're like 20-30 minutes, and it's just the Star Wars sequels. What if the Star Wars sequels were awesome? And so this guy just made them on a YouTube channel using AI. And this is where I think indie filmmakers are going to win, is because the traditional Hollywood has put so many restrictions and so many rules. You've got all these rules about AI. Well, guess what? Indie filmmakers don't have any of that. Indie filmmakers don't need to follow any types of these rules. Indie filmmakers can create special effects using AI, can create all sorts of... We've just seen, actually, it's not a very good movie. It's not a good film at all. Can't endorse it. A movie called Passenger Seat, which is like a 50-minute movie that we reviewed on Film Threat, made 100% from AI. AI actors, AI graphics, AI script generated, AI dialogue. This is going to be huge, but I personally believe that AI is just a tool like Photoshop. I don't know how to use Photoshop. I have basic competent skills, but I can't do fuck all in Photoshop. But Photoshop in the hands of someone who's very good can do the frickin' Mona Lisa. So someone is going to get a hold of AI tools and is going to make something spectacular. Check out that Prism YouTube channel. And thank you to the super chatter. I'm sorry, I forgot the name, but it's really interesting just to look at. If you put just a little effort into a Star Wars story, you should EFAP that, MauLer.
Maybe.
I mean, it's, first of all, I can't tell you it's the greatest thing ever, but it's better than what Disney did. So consider the low effort that one guy put forth and did something better than what Disney did with all of those professionals at the top of their game, right? I just blame J.J. Abrams for the failure because of the first movie. I know it's popular to hate the second one. I hate the first one more because of the way they got rid of Han Solo.
It's so interesting because I brought that up to Star Wars Theory, and some people in his chat were like, "That's absolutely nuts. Why would you hate Force Awakens more than?" And I was just like, "Because
it's god awful.
40 reasons you can."
Yeah, no, I hated it and I remember questioning myself, like, everybody seems to like it, but me, am I a downer? But watch those. Look up the Prism. What if the Force Awakens was awesome? It's 3. You know, he uses AI, but he wrote the story, the basics of the story. Sorry to go off on a rant. I know I said I didn't have much time, but I'm sitting here working on my website while I'm talking.
Hey, when it's something you care about, go for it, man.
Yeah,
but hell yeah.
I'm interested now to think, because I haven't thought about The Force Awakens in a long time. I very much enjoyed The Force Awakens when it came out. I had no apologies about it. Can't change that. But over time, obviously, looking back on it now that the whole story's done, I've always talked about how something like the Spider-Man movies with Tobey. Spider-Man 3 wasn't good. Did not affect Spider-Man 2 at all because Spider-Man 2 was such a great film on its own. So even though the follow-up was bad, it didn't have any effect on the previous. Force Awakens absolutely was fool's gold. It was absolutely fool's gold. And now you look back on where it went, and you look back on it, and I could see how you could see The Force Awakens as the worst. I still think, like, objectively, I think The Rise of Skywalker is the worst film of the 3, just because, my God, what a shit show.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Pick your poison with those 3.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. Like, looking back on it now, they're all terrible in their own right, but The Force Awakens is what started the problem. Outside of the overall purchase is what started it, but Force Awakens was just not good.
Yeah. The other one here was, I know everyone went soft at first for Ghostbusters Afterlife, but the new Ghostbusters trailer dropped yesterday. Visually, it looks great. The 3 seem to be more than just cameos.
Yeah.
I didn't even watch the trailer. I thought Afterlife was fine, I guess. I watched it once. I don't really remember. Don't really care. I thought it had a pretty powerful scene in it towards the end, but I don't really remember much about it.
I don't think anyone does, really. Like, it was pretty forgettable. Yeah, I think everyone was just happy it wasn't Ghostbusters 2016 all over again. But yeah,
the Marvels is going to take care of that. That'll be your Ghostbusters 2016.
Oh yeah. The Saxon says, "Hi Drinker, if your first film is successful, would you consider bankrolling Fatal Deviation 2 or maybe a third Snow White?" I would definitely bankroll Fatal Deviation 2. That'd be awesome, man. I'd love that. But yeah, Waylon Bucephus says, Ben over I can't even say this one. Ben Overbitch or Enormous Peters? Well, pretty good. Either way, you're fine. Mr. Lucas says, Man Ripper made me giggle on Tuesday, long man.
Oh, yeah. It was awesome, that stream.
LC Le Pen, MauLer. The Simpsons producers responded to news of Homer no longer strangling Bart with a sketch. Pretty funny development if you haven't seen it.
I haven't. Let me have a look, see. If you want to carry on, I'll let you know what it is.
Is it just Homer strangling him? No.
Well, because that's not the realization that they're actually saying that it's not happening, are they? Or are they talking about, is it someone else's?
Well, I guess it's like there was the backlash to the fact that it's apparently been taken out of future Simpsons episodes, and I don't know, have they responded it by just like him strangling Bart or something? I don't know. I haven't seen the sketch. Just while you're looking, I'll go on here. Timothy Finch says the $270 million Marvels got dunked on by the lower budget Flash and Morbius. I swear, drama over Disney box office is better entertainment than their actual movies. Yeah, I mean, Flash was definitely way more expensive than that, to be fair. Morbius, pretty cheap, but...
Okay, I found it.
Okay.
Homer Simpson's reported decision to stop strangling his son Bart has fans talking, at least on the internet. That's where everyone, of course, has an opinion. And the executive producers behind The Simpsons have put together a response in animated form. Well, it's not animated form, it's the sketch, but it's a sketch of him strangling Bart, and it says, "Why you little clickbaiting," and then cuts off. So, yeah, I guess they're saying that's it's all clickbait. I don't know.
Fair dues. Jordan Pendragon says Kevin Sorbo spoke at my school's fundraiser a while back and said that the film he was in, God's Not Dead, cost just $2 million to make and netted over $50 million.
Yeah, they made like 4 of those, didn't they?
I mean, I have no idea if it's true, but yeah, sounds impressive if so.
There's just so much opportunity. Sound of Freedom. What was the budget on that? $20 million. And what did it make? $250 million worldwide. You know? Like,
yeah, that movie was crazy, man.
Yeah.
Especially when it was locked away in a vault for like 5 years and no one touched it.
Yep.
Insane. Mitch says, switching places, very selective when it came to using powers. Monica breathes in space now. Why can't she fly? How is Miss Marvel using her powers without the bracelet? Those are questions that you shouldn't be asking because that
I could answer it. In the second episode of Miss Marvel, he scans her with his sci-fi tech and he says, "Oh my god, the powers, they're coming from within you. It's as though the band just activated your superpowers." And by the end of the show, I think we're supposed to assume she's a mutant, is where her powers come from. It's not the bangles necessarily, or some bullshit.
See, again, that's shit that you only know if you watch the TV show, which no one fucking did because it was obscure.
I know no one watched that show because there's stuff in there that's fucking crazy and hilarious. And I was like, why did no one talk about this? It's like, because nobody watched it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Jordan Pendragon also says, I think this is a reference to the Kevin Sorbo movie. He quipped that the entire production budget cost what an MCU film will spend on catering alone. These films don't need overwhelming budgets. They just have to be good. Yeah, I mean, that's the golden rule, I guess. It's always been applicable to movies. I'd be like fascinated to see what money actually gets spent on. Like, if you're making something like The Marvels and you spend $270 million, where does that money actually go? Is it set design? Is it the actors? You know, is it post-production? Is it the VFX? Like what's your breakdown of budget? Because some of this money's got to be disappearing into a black hole. It's either got to be a tax write-off or like the executives are just paying for that second holiday home or something. Like I refuse to believe all of that money went to the actual movie.
Well, I mean, I look, I've heard of so many bizarre cases of, you know, producers buying a car that needs to be used in a movie that they then keep after the movie. There's traditionally what they call a 20% producer's fee, which is a fee that a producer will put overall because they'll have to spend money they didn't anticipate spending, but usually that money is just kept by the producers. In you know, when it comes to a studio movie, that's the studio is the producer, but there are so many. I mean, I've just heard of so many crazy stories of money just being creatively accounted for, and when I say accounted for, I mean unaccounted for when it comes to making films. But to me, production value is always location and cast. That's your production value, is location and cast. In you know, when it comes to blockbuster movies, it's also effects, special effects. So that's critically important, which is why The Marvels is so underwhelming. That scene where it looks like they're fighting in a laser tag store, a laser tag place. It's just so ridiculous. And the villain, I mean, we could go on and on about how Marvel has a villain problem. That villain, Dar-Ben, would have been a great villain in a reality show where they're fighting over a bachelor. But as someone who could be considered intimidating and a presence, and you know, galactic threatening planets across the galaxy, doesn't work. Just
I couldn't tell you a thing about her either. Like, what's her personality? Right. Don't know. It's like the one and only thing I know is like she wants to save her planet. That's all I got. Nothing else about her.
Yeah.
Mitch asked a very relevant question. How the hell do people fit inside the cats? Captain Marvel can fix a sun, but not beat a girl with a hammer. Why didn't Fury call Daenerys? Was it Gaia she's called?
Yeah.
Can't Monica fix the tear from her side? Those are all relevant questions.
Those are all very
and I have
good
no
questions.
answers.
Yep.
No answer. Yeah, how did the Flurkins work? Like, because
TARDIS.
I assumed that if you got eaten by one, you were dead. But now it's like you can be spat out and you're perfectly whole, but you've been compressed into something the size of a cat.
TARDIS.
TARDIS, yeah. Sure, they got like a micro dimension inside them. Hey, we got Tyrone Magnus with us.
Well, what's up, drinker?
Are you
Why do
just
you-
back
why-
from the Marvels?
Why do you look so happy?
DJ. I just got done laughing my ass off reviewing the Marvels.
Was it as good for you as it was for us?
Oh man, you know.
It's just like broken.
You know how it is. We've been telling them for years, and we're just seeing it all play out. And you know, it's when will it stop? But I'm gonna wag the finger and tell them I told you so until they fix things. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was no.
Oh man, yeah, we've
Mr. Gore, by the way, love the show.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. Oh, that's great.
And found you. I ain't stopped watching you, man. You got a good perspective. I like it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I don't always get it right, but you know, whatever. Yeah.
We all make mistakes from time to time.
Yeah,
Get it right most of the time, and we're good.
Yeah. Jeremy liked one of the Star Wars sequels. He just admitted it on this stream.
I did. I used to like it. Damn it! I used to like it. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I like The Force Awakens.
Well, so that's where I was back in the day. I liked The Force Awakens, and I can't change that I liked it when it came out. But after we watched The Last Jedi and then Rise of Skywalker, you look back on that and you're like, you know,
you just got to own it.
But you put it in the set and you see what they were doing. It's like, okay. Nah.
Yeah, the Force Awakens is that chick you look back on. You're like, did I really? Did I really?
I got really drunk that night.
I was really desperate, man. Yeah. You can't change it. You just have to learn from it. Okay.
That's true. That's true.
That is true. We're just we were doing a few super chats there, Tyrone. So most of them are about the Marvels at this stage anyway. So it'll be interesting to get your take on it. AG said, MauLer, just watched your talk with Star Wars Theory, and I wish every conversation I have when there was a disagreement was that civilized. Cheers.
Yeah, man. It was good stuff. Like I said, loads of people seem to really enjoy it, and it's just two corners of the internet. It was funny. I actually described it that way. I said that we're from two different corners. His chat was so angry at me, or half of them were. One of them was like, "Wow, MauLer thinks so much of himself. Thinks he owns an entire corner."
We need to incorporate that, like the corner master or something. You know, like MauLer's the king of his own corner of the internet. Dark Hour says, "To whom it may concern, by the time you read this, I'll be watching the Marvels. As there's no guarantee I'm going to survive this. This may be my last ever super chat. I just want to say that I love you all. Wish me luck."
Best of luck.
If you can get through that song and dance sequence, man, you're a better man than me.
You're home free at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, that tested me. Mega Spidey Man. Hello there to everyone. Who do you think are the sexiest Marvel film and TV characters, and why them? Kelsey Grammer, what a beast.
Yeah.
Who's
I'm
the
not
sexiest?
going to say Kelsey Grammer.
No. Too hairy.
Yeah.
I've dated worse. Scotland for you.
Man.
I like, well, there's Black Widow.
Black Widow's the obvious choice. You ever seen that? You ever seen that? You ever seen that video of John Favreau checking out ScarJo as she's walking away? Yeah. She's
So
like,
good.
it's like John Favreau and a bunch of like, I guess, creatives around, like, or from the set, and she's kind of turns around and kind of prances off, and you see Favreau's eyes go right there to the booty as she's walking away. You're like, that's why he could save Star Wars. That's the only reason, because he's looking at that ass. That's the only reason. Because it ain't because of the Lion King, that's for sure. But yeah, that's at that moment I respected Favreau. I'm like, all right, I respect you.
I've got to give an honorable mention as well to Salma Hayek in The Eternals. Although she's older, man, she's still got it.
Yeah.
Salma Hayek wins almost every time. If she's involved in the conversation, she's gonna win for hotness. just cut by
Yeah.
default.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I just recently saw the chick that plays Hawkeye now. I saw her all dressed up on the red carpet. I didn't know she looked that good now. I remember her as the young girl in Bumblebee.
Yeah, what's her
She's
name?
still up there.
Haley
Yeah,
Stein.
I was
Is that?
surprised.
Yeah. I mean, like the problem with Marvel is they don't think that attractive women should be attractive. They should make them look unattractive, almost like they did with Star Wars.
Yeah, that pesky male gaze. Got to
Yeah.
eliminate it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look too long. You might make us too much money.
Yeah. Derek says, bro, this Marvel clapback is pure fire. It might even be peak fire, bro. Can they keep this peak going, bro?
That's
I mean,
all EFAP memes right there. That's good stuff. just nod and accept it, Drinky.
Yeah. This is two worlds colliding once again. Andrew McCarty says, thoughts on the It novel and the 1990 movie? So, I like the novel. The movie, I don't think it was particularly faithful to it. I thought Tim Curry was great as Pennywise, but overall, like, yeah, it was.
That's like the miniseries, right? The TV miniseries is what it was.
Yeah.
Kinda. It freaked me the hell out when I was younger, man.
Yeah.
It freaked me the hell out.
My brother was scared of it too.
Yeah, back in the day, it did. I watched it a long time ago, and it obviously it didn't. There was nostalgia creepiness to it, but it wasn't that creepy to me. When it was all said and done, but back in the day, it scared the hell out of me.
Yeah. Andrew McCarthy also says, also, what if Star Wars sequels were good is great. Yeah, so that we talked about the what if earlier. Cliff Clavin says, cheers, MauLer EFAP Donner Cup with Gary. When are you going to do it?
I mean, sounds like a good idea someday, yeah.
Yeah, sounds all right. Flav says, in other news, Lizzo has left Marvel after news reports that it was falling into a black hole. She said her public profile was bad enough without being accused of putting a film studio there as well. Ugh.
Damn.
Lover of Green says, hail to the panel. I discovered the Fellowship back in the summer of 2022. You guys have kept me sane during tedious work hours, and now I get to see the biggest roasting in cinema history, the Marvels. Hail to the Drinker, Gore, Jeremy, Tyrone, and the 199.
Yeah, hell.
Thank you, man. That was for $50, so thank you very much. Wings of Dying Every Round says, Black Girl Magic. Yeah.
I thought that was a legitimate funny part, though. It was like he was trying to tell her, like, flame on. Like, it was like her flame on the fly. Black Girl Magic, come on.
Yeah. Hercules says 199 is taking over. Jay, the super chat. Hail the 199.
Hey, like when the 199 shit takes over. So such a like the fact that it's all made from a dumb hater on Geeks and Gamers, and now it's what we're known for. It's great.
That's what happens, man. Things grow arms and legs. That's
it, man. That's it.
Timmy04 says, Drinker, are you more excited for House of the Dragon Season 2 or Andor Season 2? House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon,
yeah. I've not got much faith, really, that they can repeat the success of Andor.
I would go as far as saying we have no idea what's going to happen with Andor Season 2, because Andor Season 1 was not the success they wanted, so who knows what they've told him to do, what we'll end up with.
We need more chicks in it, and they need to be lame and gay. Clearly,
I mean, it's kind of like a double-edged sword with the whole stupid freedom thing that they give people. Like the whole secret invasion. Go, just do it. Here's 300 million. Just go, whatever. Fuck it. And then, like, when they do that with someone like Andor and Tony Gilroy and all their team, it's like, oh, that might work out, but they won't do it again. They're in the era now where they're like, oh fuck, we can't just literally spray dollars across the floor and burn them. It's like,
I mean, would Tony Gilroy even care enough to want to get into this again, put that amount of work in for a Star Wars project?
I'm surprised
he's even that
passionate
about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Because he did the reshoots for Rogue One, right? So he's got
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's a matter now of just get it done and exit, sort of thing. I don't know. We'll see.
Mo Zizlak says, hail Frank Gore, great panel as per usual. Thank you very much. Hurricane Laura says, hail from Germany, I raise alt beer to you. Prost. Thank you, man. Cheers to you. Question for the panel from Derek says, thoughts on The Matrix Reloaded?
Reloaded?
I mean, I know a lot of people don't. It's my favorite out of the three. It is.
Really? Really?
Wow.
Yeah,
That is a bold claim, sir.
Listen. I can be teased in with a lot of fights and action sometimes. I can, and I can recognize that it may not be the better of the, but it just felt it's the most rewatchable for me.
See, that's cool. See, that's all it takes is for somebody to like, hey, it's not the best, but it's my favorite, because that's such a hard thing for people to kind of, go like, it's not. Most people say it's the best and it's my favorite, and you can't, like, no. It's like me. I talked about X-Men Origins Wolverine earlier, and like, I like that movie. It's a fucking terrible movie, but I like it. But so I respect that. It's been a long time since I watched the first Matrix, and do you guys remember back when the first Matrix? I remember when it came out on DVD, and me and my friends were like, "This is the future." The DVD of the Matrix, or was that HD DVD at that point? I can't remember. But do you remember how everybody's
DVDs
like,
at that point? Because this was like 1999, maybe 2000.
Yeah, and we were like, when we were like, nothing will ever literally top this. This is the best movies will ever look. We are living in peak humanity with the DVD. And I remember there was like, I can't wait to get home and watch this on my, 20-inch TV. Like, nothing is going to, like, this is better than the movies, guys. There was so much hype around it.
It was almost crazy back then, because in the course of like a handful of years, you had the Matrix trilogy, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and like Pirates of the Caribbean, Spider-Man. So it's like, look at that shit, man. That was cool. All this shit coming out.
Good times indeed. No, I remember going to the cinema to see The Matrix, and just, wow, that was there'd never been anything quite like that before, and it's like, holy shit, this just really feels like a different era of filmmaking that we're moving into now.
Every time I remember a video, like I play the PlayStation 1, I'm like, or Nintendo 64 actually, I'm like, we are never going to top Mario 64 graphics. It's never going to happen. Now you go back, and as much as I love Nintendo, the N64 has not aged particularly well, even though we still have fun playing it. So, that's just how it is, though.
Everyone remembers GoldenEye.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, I know, Jeremy, you kind of need to bounce right now.
I was only planning on being here an hour, and I had so much fun, man. This was a blast. So it was an honor to be here. So I had a great time. And Tyrone, man, it's always willing. I want to hang out with you. I want to get you on Tuesday Night's Main Event at some point, man. So
all right, cool.
I'll hit you up.
We'll do it.
Yeah, and MauLer, is always great to meet you for the first time.
Yeah, it's great to meet.
Great to meet Frank Gore once again. And the drinker.
He doesn't know it. He's the man. He doesn't know it.
He is. But yeah, I appreciate it. I had a blast. Anytime, drinker, you want me on, feel free to ask. It's always an honor to be here, bro. So, and
thank you, man.
You guys have a good night. See you, chat, and I'll talk to all of you later. Bye.
Take care, Jeremy.
Bye.
Later.
Yeah, sure.
On that note, I probably got to go to drinker. I was only planning on being here an hour, but I realized like I can just listen to other people talk like I do when I watch your show and just do BS work in the background. So thanks for not noticing that.
No, I think you covered it up pretty well. So respect to you for that. I couldn't carry on a conversation and do that at the same time. So well done. And yeah, that's the effect of the open bar. You see, people think they're going to be here for an hour, and suddenly they're there for like 3.
Right.
I appreciate the time.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it, and looking forward to chatting with you all again. Goodbye to the doggos and yourself and MauLer, and always great to hang out. Tyrone, great to meet you as well. It's awesome. I'll be back. I'll be back at some point. I mean, if you'll have me.
Absolutely. You're welcome here anytime, Chris. Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Check out my channel, Film Threat. We review a lot of movies that you'll never hear about and that are weird, small indie movies, including a movie that I predict is going to have a lot of controversy. I saw last night called Poor Things. Starring Emma Stone. She gets naked throughout the movie. We're talking full frontal.
Nice.
Full frontal.
I approve.
And a lot of sex in this film. There is going to be quite a discussion around this film. I don't want to ruin it. It's a perverted Bride of Frankenstein type story that is I don't want to ruin anything. I want to talk to someone who's seen it, but can't stop thinking about the film. It's really effed up in some good ways and some freaking horrible ways that are going to spur discussion. So
Is that out, or is it like in theaters, or
not out yet? It comes out in December, but just look up the trailer for Poor Things. It's inspired by Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster. That's all I'll say. So cool. All right, take care. Chat with you all soon. Later, and hail to the chat.
And he's gone.
all right?
They cut him off.
Well, I think that's probably a good time for the rest of us to finish up as well, because I know we've been going for like 2.5 hours or something, and we've obviously got there's other super chats to get through, but we'll probably do that in a catch-up stream. But I do want to say,
I came in at the ass end, man. I just had to, had to get
It's
it.
no problem.
You had something far more important to do, and that was watching the Marvels.
Yes,
so you got to
Time
experience it.
well spent.
Yeah.
But yeah, always remember, like, if it's a Thursday and you know there's a movie coming out that Friday, I always have early tickets.
Yeah.
The sneak preview. So sometimes
That's how you get in there first with the reviews, though. So part of the plan.
Get it out the way, you know.
No, it's cool, man. I'm glad you were able to come in for a little while, even if it was at the end. It's always good to have you on. And thank you. And thanks for everyone who joined us for this tonight. We had like 17, almost 18,000 people watching us live, so that's a record for Open Bar. But yeah, thank you to my lovely mods as well for doing the usual awesome job that they do. Appreciate you guys for all the hard work. And thank you for everyone who super chatted us. As I say, if we didn't get to your super chats tonight, we will answer them over the next few days. I know, thanks to the Critical Doggos for all the hard work they've put in. I can tell that they've worked their asses off on this one. But for now, at least, that is all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.
All right, y'all.